Good afternoon, everyone. It is Thursday, May 22nd, and the Governance, Accountability, and Economic Development Committee will now come to order. It is 2:03. I'm Sarah Nelson, Chair of the committee. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Rivera.
Present.
Councilmember Solomon.
Here.
Councilmember Hollingsworth.
Here.
Councilmember Kettle.
Here.
Chair Nelson.
Present.
5 present.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today, including Councilmember Moore and Councilmember Rink. We have a really full agenda today, and we have to get through the first thing on our agenda is Resolution 32170, granting conceptual approval to the Downtown Seattle Association to install, maintain, and operate interactive kiosks downtown. Next, we'll have a presentation and discussion of the draft digital term permit council bill for those kiosks, and then finally a possible vote on Councilmember Moore's Council Bill 120978 relating to the Code of Ethics. And there are 5 amendments to that legislation, so I wanted to get through the first 2 items relatively quickly and leave the bulk of our meeting time to discuss the last item. So just for how things will go during discussion, and I might repeat this again later, but when discussing the items on the agenda, I'll recognize non-committee members after standing committee members have had the opportunity to ask their questions and provide their comments, with the exception of Councilmember Moore when we're discussing the ethics legislation, because she's the author and one of the council bill. And so that provides an opportunity to answer direct questions and comments about that piece of legislation. And then if council members have follow-up comments or questions for our presenters, I ask that you raise your hand to be recognized instead of engaging in a back and forth with presenters. With that, if there is no objection, the agenda will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the agenda is adopted. We'll now proceed to our hybrid public comment period. Clerk, how many speakers are signed up today?
Chair, we have 49 in person and we have 15 remote.
Okay. We'll give everybody 1 minute to speak. My intention was to provide up to an hour of public comment. That leaves an hour left at the end of our meeting. Council Bill C4 states that total public comment periods shall not exceed 20 minutes unless extended at the direction of the presiding officer. It is common practice to extend that public comment, but again, we do have a time. This is a scheduled 2-hour meeting, and we do have a time limit at the end of the meeting. Some council members have to get to some other things. So we will be, that is how we will be proceeding with public comment. Again, just a reminder that disruptions during public comment or speaking beyond the allotted time just simply takes up time for other speakers to have the opportunity to make their comment. All right. So do you have the list, clerk? Ready to go? We'll do alternating 10 in-person, 10 remote, and the time is now 2:07. So public comment will continue for an hour until 3:07, unless we end earlier.
I'll call on speakers in the order they signed up, starting with in-person public commenters. Speakers will have 1 minute. When you hear the chime, you'll have 10 seconds left. If you exceed that time, your microphone may be cut off so that we can move on to the next speaker. If you're offering remote comment, please make sure to press *6 to unmute yourself. And then with that, can we get numbers 1 through 10 down to the dais, or down to the front, please? Thank you. Yes, you are.
Thank you. 1 minute. God bless America. God bless Seattle. 1 minute is better than 30 seconds. Yeah, I know this. Sieg Heil, my dirty damn Nazi Gestapo, fascist, bandit, and pig. My name is Alex Zimmerman. I support Trump and MAGA. I have 60 days for trespasses, 5 times you prosecute me. My question to you, Consul, you know what this means. What does mean accountability? I'm totally confused. I come in this place for 30 years, 5,000 times. So I cannot understand what is mean word accountability. You give me 18 trespasses for my right speak for 2 minutes or 1 minute. But 2 days ago, couple dozen people totally destroy everything, constitution and everything. In you, Consul Nelson, very quiet. You never quiet when I speaking. What is going on in you? What is your choice of one kind of people different from another? Because Consul Savant, same fascist like you,
Thank
only
you.
with different direction.
Thank you.
You
Next,
understand
can we have?
what I'm talking? Thank you very much.
Can we get numbers? Can we get?
Afternoon, Council President Nelson and members of Seattle City Council. My name is Rachel Snell. I'm testifying proudly against the proposal to roll back renters and ethics protections. In a time where voters already feel divided from their elected officials, rolling back ethics protections will just make the division worse and increase the lack of trust in your constituents. You've heard hundreds of testimonies, have heard protests and chants demanding that you not go against the will of the people. People that elected you to office to work for us. Why change a system that's worked just fine for decades? If you as elected officials disregard the needs of your constituents, the voices will only increase and become louder beyond these chambers. If you don't want people engaging in disruptive behavior at City Hall, then don't engage in disruptive behavior by rolling back ethics protections. But if you do, then the joke's gonna be on you.
Whenever you're ready.
Why you quiet? You have a power stop in this BS.
Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon. My name's Eddie Lynn. I'm a proud Beacon Hill resident. Trust in government is at an all-time low. We should be restoring trust in local government by strengthening, not weakening our ethics rules. I've spoken with hundreds of District 2 residents and folks across the city recently. Not a single one who has heard of this proposal supports it. As we all know, our current system is designed to uphold status quo for the wealthy, allowing council members who are landlords and business owners to vote on legislation in their own financial interests further disenfranchises renters, workers, and marginalized communities. That's why we must maintain our current strong ethical standards. Trump and his cronies are engaged in unprecedented corruption. We should be holding the line, not making it easier for corruption to happen here too. Please vote no on rolling back ethics rules and stand up for the people and good governance in our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Why you quiet, Consul? Give them trespass.
Next person, please.
Next person, come on down. Number 4, please.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Chris Johnston, and I'm a mid-supervisor at Downtown Seattle Association Metropolitan Improvement District. I'm here to voice strong support for bringing IKE digital kiosks to downtown Seattle. These kiosks will dramatically improve wayfinding. The interactive real-time info will be beneficial for all. The 108,000 downtown residents, 335,000 downtown workers, and 9.72 million annual visitors. In 2024, Mid-Ambassadors provided 50,000 concierge service interactions. Kiosks will connect people to local businesses, events, and cultural spots, driving foot traffic and supporting the downtown economy. I urge you to support the installation of IKE kiosks to support an even more welcoming and inviting city for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we get?
Rights are under attack. What do we do? Rights are under attack. What do we do?
Why you don't
Go
give them
ahead, please.
trespass? You give me 18 trespasses, give them trespass too.
Please begin.
Good afternoon. I'm Kurt Painter, and I represent Local Vision Seattle. We're a local digital signage business established in January 2024. We have tried unsuccessfully since April 2024 to enter our own proposal for digital signage kiosk in Seattle. Despite being ignored by the Downtown Seattle Association, the mayor's office, and your own offices, despite repeated attempts. The overwhelming majority of Seattleites oppose this concept. The technology is antiquated, to say the least. Wayfinding, transit maps, and general city messaging is content that might have been relevant in 1999, but not 2025. I'm asking you to stop this in its tracks, or at least pause the process so a competitive environment can take place. If you are going to litter the streets and eyes of Seattle, why not use a truly local company and provide truly local benefit for something that will be here long after events like the World Cup? Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Who do the landlord club?
Please begin.
Who do the landlord pay?
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?
Stop.
Whenever you're ready. Whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name is Austin Shea, and I'm a renter in District 7, and I staunchly oppose proposed changes to the ethics code that will undermine the trust between the council and its constituents. You argue that the purpose of the bill is to ensure residents of every district have representation, but passing this legislation will, without allowing us to vote on it, does exactly the opposite. The recent actions of the federal government have begun to erode the trust we have in our institutions. We need to know that our city is with us, not against us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up.
Hi, Howard Gale, District 7. So this bill needs to be held back. It should be voted down, but it absolutely has to be held back. On March 5th, 2025, the SEC said there are numerous examples that showed Seattle's current ethics law is a bit out of an outlier. That was simply false information. 87% of the people living on the West Coast live under a local or state system of recusal. On a state level, the percentage is 100%. It's in the Washington Constitution since 1879 that all state legislators need to recuse themselves, but yet Seattle wants a different rule. Also, you were lied to when it was suggested by Director Barnett that East Coast cities or Massachusetts has some different kind of recusal laws. In fact, Massachusetts has had recusal for all levels of government for decades. So again, you were faced with a lot of misinformation. The last amendment was just posted yesterday at 5:26.
Thank you, sir.
You need to withdraw this legislation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time is up.
Thank you.
Who do the landlord love? Caffeine more. Who do
Are you ready?
pay?
Are you ready? You ready?
Who needs to be thrown out? Caffeine more. When renters' rents are under attack, what do?
Are you ready? Whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Michael Woody. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Visit Seattle. I'm here to voice strong support for the Resolution 32170 and the Term Permit Ordinance, which together would advance the installation of interactive wayfinding kiosks in our downtown core and participating neighborhood business districts. These kiosks are a dynamic tool to enhance the visitor experience and promote local businesses and support the broader economic recovery. In 2024, we welcomed 40 million visitors who spent over $8.8 billion in King County and supported over 68,000 local jobs. But our research shows that many visitors arrive without a detailed plan, and they really book lodging ahead of time. So this is an opportunity for really to get them around the community and to spend money in our local businesses. We see these kiosks as an extension of our visitor information centers, bringing timely information to street level.
Thank you.
We encourage you to support the legislation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And then the last two, number 9 and 10, and then we'll go to 10 remote.
Thank you. Anitra Freeman, speaking in opposition to the proposed changes in the ethics code. I am a member of the board of Wheel and of Share, besides being a participant. I've also been a member of the board of directors of Real Change and of the Low Income Housing Institute. All of those and every other nonprofit that I know of has a code of ethics which says if you have a conflict of interest, you have to declare it and recuse yourself. The decisions of the city council affect more people than the decisions of any other nonprofit. That is a reason for strengthening your ethics, not weakening them.
Thank you.
Please approach the mic.
Alex, please sit down. Number 10, please come up.
By chanting in between speakers, you're engaging in disruptive behavior and delaying the orderly progress, and it is not in compliance with council rules.
Give them trespass. Give them.
Number 10, come on down. Elizabeth Stanton.
I want to thank the council for the opportunity to speak to this today, and also to express that I have deep and long history of respect for Wayne Barnett. But you know, you look across the country and what we're facing today, the guardrails are gone. Our citizens are being yanked off the street, people born here, and sent out of the country to prisons. We cannot let this guardrail go. We need to keep the ethics rule in place. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now proceed to remote comment speakers.
Give them trespass. You give me 18 trespass. Give trespass to them too.
Go ahead.
Now I'm going to go to 10 remote speakers. First remote caller is going to be Peter Condit. Please press *6 to unmute yourself. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Peter Condit in District 6. First, I ask that you reject the resolution to privatize sidewalk space. Non-consensual ad kiosks on sidewalks that are already too narrow would steal our attention in the name of corporate profit and should be banned. I also ask that you reject Bill 120978, which would allow council members to enrich themselves through their vote. Disclosure without recusal is meaningless. Telling us you're going to benefit financially from a vote and then proceeding to take that vote does not make your action ethical. It makes your money grab more brazen. I ask that you reject in particular Amendment 2B. If and when landlords stand to benefit from an upcoming bill, Amendment 2B could require renters on council to recuse themselves, specifically because they are less financially impacted than other members of the same profession, i.e. most of council who own land. This backwards amendment to a backwards bill would give wealthier council members even more power. Shame on you, Kathy Moore. I hope this committee rejects your unethical bill.
Thank you.
With the instructions because they can hear you.
Next remote speaker, we have Marshall Bender. Hey, Marshall, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Thank you, Marshall.
Hello, my name is Marshall Bender, and I am a renter in District 5. I'm talking to the council today to ask you all to disapprove of CM Moore's proposed change to the ethics code and to vote down her bill, as well as Councilmember Hollingsworth's proposals to change the legislation. So lowering ethical standards to allow elected officials like yourselves to do their self-dealing brazenly is just a terrible idea, and it's most likely unconstitutional in Washington state. If this change passes, council members that own property, that are landlords, et cetera, will just be allowed to simply disclose their conflict of interest rather than recuse themselves from the vote. And that means that all of you, big money grabbers, whatever, will have all the power, and everybody else in the city will continue to have less. That's not going to spell out well for your political careers or for the trust that your constituents have in you. So Councilmember Moore, specifically, because you're my representative, I'd just like to stress how disappointing this is that you would propose this and how shameful you are as a politician. And I look forward to all of you losing your seats in your coming elections. Thank you so much.
Why don't you read the next 3 speakers?
Okay, yes. The next 3 remote speakers will be Coleman Miller, BJ Last, and Michael Stewart. Coleman Miller, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Coleman Miller. I live in District 2. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to demand that the City Council rejects Councilmember Moore's changes to the conflicts of interest rules. Councilmember Moore says that this change would improve representation. I respond that a city council full of landlords and business owners is already unrepresentative of our community. If the council really cared about true representation, they would pass campaign finance reforms to ensure that Seattleites from all backgrounds and income brackets have a fair chance at running for office. They would raise revenue to fund more frequent and robust community town halls with food, interpreters, and childcare available to make it easier for the marginalized to make their voices heard. They would make it impossible for certain council members to circumvent direct democracy and engineer their own alternatives to valid, broadly popular ballot initiatives like I-137. Instead, the conservative bloc of the City Council has put forth this legislation, which only serves to grease the wheels of the revolving door of council members whose interests are already perfectly aligned with the donor class of landlords and millionaires. Seattle has a reputation for being a progressive bastion. It's time for the City Council to put its money where its mouth is, not the other way around. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, BJ Last. Can you please, hey, BJ Last, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Thank you.
Give your trespass too.
BJ, my apologies. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Thank you.
My name is BJ Last. I'm a Ballard homeowner, and I oppose the change to the ethics code, obviously, since literally no one actually supports this other than apparently some council members. I also oppose the resolution for the kiosks. You all call them kiosks. They're not. They're billboards. Their primary function is to display ads. That's what they do. They are big, bright billboards that the Downtown Seattle Association wants to put in the middle of our sidewalks. They're going to make our sidewalks even more, cluttering them a lot, which is this is a nightmare for anyone that actually has mobility issues, because our sidewalks are already really crowded and a pain to go and try to navigate. So really way to make the city even less friendly and welcoming to people with have mobility issues. There are also really, really bright lights right at eye level. So they're going to distract drivers because ads are actually meant to be eye-catching, and this also creates issues for people that are sensitive to bright lights, making it harder for them to actually be outside in their own city. And the Wi-Fi is not an actual benefit. Wi-Fi that you have to stand outside the middle of the sidewalk to access isn't actually useful. If you actually care about digital equity, you'll increase the number of Wi-Fi hotspots.
Next three, we'll have Michael Stewart.
You are continually engaging in disruptive behavior, but it's making it very difficult for us to hear the people that are speaking remotely.
Next three, we have Michael Stewart, Red, and Alberto Alvarez. Hey, Michael Stewart, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Thank you.
Okay.
We can hear
My
you.
name is Michael Stewart, and I serve as the executive. My name is Michael Stewart, and I serve as the executive director of Boyer Children's Clinic, the largest provider of early support for infants and toddlers in Seattle. I'm writing to express my strong support for continued and sustainable funding of the Bridge program, a vital resource for young children with disabilities and developmental delays. As you know, this program is currently funded by the sweetened beverage tax. However, I understand the Bridge program is facing significant funding reduction. Has been recommended by the SBT Community Advisory Board for transition to the Family Education Preschool and Promise Levy, which is up currently for renewal. I strongly urge the council to support this recommendation and ensure that early learning programs like Bridge are incorporated into the next FEPP levy. Doing so will help secure stable long-term funding for this critical service. Thank you so much for your consideration of this request and continued commitment to equity and early learning in our community.
Thank you, Michael. Next, we'll have Red, following Red, Alberto Alvarez, and then Eldon Ta. Red, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Thank you.
Hello and good afternoon, Seattle voters. CB 120978 isn't just bad policy. It's a Trump-style corruption, dismantling oversight, gutting ethics, and rewriting the rules to protect power. This is political insider trading. If a corporation did this, the SEC would be at their door. But when politicians rig the system for themselves, they call it reform. Who does this actually help? Not voters drowning in unaffordable housing, not workers struggling to make ends meet, just the people in this room, insulating themselves from consequences. If you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't fear accountability. Pushing this bill proves you do. And let's be clear, history will remember this vote. Will you be the council that stood for integrity or the one that legalized corruption? Hill CB 120978. If you don't, the public will hold you accountable at the ballot box, in the courts, and on the streets.
Thank you,
The
Red.
choice is yours.
Hey, next we have Alberto Alvarez. Hey, Alberto, can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? Thank you, Alberto. Whenever you're ready, Alberto.
Council Member Kathy Moore, you are not proud of this bill because you have not mentioned it at all in any of your newsletters. Rolling back rules of ethics to allow for more corruption would undermine what little trust we have in this council. Self-dealing, self-interest, and self-righteousness will inflict severe damage to the protections of public good we all depend on. Harm and chaos by wealthy politicians is not hypothetical, it is some fact. No one on this council is immune to corruption. This legislation goes far beyond allowing a small group of landlords to line their pockets. God only knows what future city councils would do if given free rein to enrich themselves. Legalized corruption is not something the public has ever voted for. Councilmember Kathy Moore, take down your bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Alberto. Hey, next, can we get Eldon Ta? Eldon, can you press *6 to unmute yourself? Sorry about that. Hey, Eldon, can you press *6 to unmute yourself?
Stop.
Hey, Eldon, do you mind pressing *6?
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Eldon Tam. I'm the COO at Friends of Waterfront Park. I'm
gonna.
We cannot hear people.
Hello, my name is Eldon Tam. I'm the CEO of Friends of Waterfront Park.
Rules is disruptive behavior and delaying the orderly progress of this meeting.
Yes.
You are only taking time away from subsequent speakers.
Hey, Eldon.
Go ahead.
Eldon, my apologies. Can you please press *6 to unmute yourself? My apologies.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. My name is Eldon Tam. I'm the COO of Friends of Waterfront Park. I'm calling to support the downtown digital kiosk proposal. These digital kiosks will bring a multitude of benefits to downtown, including dynamic wayfinding for locals and visitors, increased public safety with 911 access at each kiosk, increased public amenities, including free Wi-Fi, support local businesses with a directory that's a center at each location, support the active downtown activation by the arts and culture community with space reserved on these platforms for both city, nonprofit, and the DSA to promote all of the wonderful downtown activities. They are also self-funding with no city resources to maintain and operate them. I think these are an essential part of the continued positive improvements in downtown, and I strongly urge approval of this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Eldon. Next, to finish the first 10 remote commenters, we'll have Josie Ubelhor. My apologies for mispronouncing your name. Josie, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Josie Ebelhair. I'm a social worker and a member of the Washington Federation of State Employees, Local 889, and a member of Workers Strike Back. I've not only benefited from rental protections won by former city council member Sawant personally, but have seen firsthand how these protections have saved children from living on the street and kept families together. It is so shameful that these so-called progressives are so obviously supporting this legislation for your own interests. Almost, if not all, of the council members have received dollars from corporate PACs. The National Association of Realtors has given a total of over $150,000 to council members Hollingsworth, Kettle, and Rivera. It is clear you have no interest in supporting working people in this city and protecting people from evictions and homelessness. Many of you were elected with the support of labor, but to call yourselves pro-labor while even entertaining this legislation is a lie, and any council member who votes yes on this legislation should lose all labor endorsements and never see a minute in this council chamber again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Please proceed with the. Go ahead. Just go ahead.
Can we get numbers 11 to 20 for public comment?
Former council member, you're engaging in disorderly conduct, which includes, according to council rule 11D1, B, outbursts from members of the public who've not been recognized by the presiding officer for public comment. And let's see. delaying the orderly conduct or progress of a public comment period.
All right, can we get numbers 11 to 20 for public commenters, please? Number 11, 12, and all the way down to 20. Come on down, please. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Connor Nash, and I'm a renter in District 3, and I am against the changes to the ethics codes. It shows that you all are just corrupt by changing these ethics codes and fighting against renters' rights and all other conflicts of interest that you all have. The city does not trust our city council, and this is more proof that why we should not trust any of you except for a select few of our council members on here. You are no better than the fascist Trump administration who's flouting ethics rules in order to enrich themselves. You're no better than Nancy Pelosi and Marjorie Taylor Greene who flout ethics rules to enrich themselves through stocks. You are all terrible council members, and all of you should be thrown out for your terrible policies that you do. You all actively ignore constituents and try to enrich themselves, and you all need to be thrown out. And finally, I will use my last 15 minutes to say, when renters' rights are under attack, what do we do? When renters' rights are under attack, what do we do? When renters' rights are under attack, what do we do? When renters' rights are under attack, what do we do?
Thank you. Number 12. Number 12, come on down, please. Thank you.
My name is Ellen Solid. I'm a 35-year resident of the city of Seattle. I'm here to oppose the digital kiosks. I have a leave behind, which will go into more detail. Your ordinance has a number of fatal flaws that if you're not aware of, you should be made aware of. One, there's no pre-contact restrictions on advertising content or guidelines for content moderation, which means that the ads will be alcohol, soda, potentially marijuana, and beer. These violate the kinds of things that we're trying to do in our public realm. Second, there's no prohibition on video. These used to be still images. These kiosks now have the capacity for moving images. Throws all of your driver detection stuff out the window. There's no requirement for them to pay for electricity. There's huge potential for litigation. There are no provisions for the termination prior to the conclusion of the permit for any reason. No enforcement mechanism for maintenance. No provisions for DSA and Ike to provide financial reporting. And the next step is large advertising screens on buildings.
Thank you, Ellen.
And I have my letter to the editor that was published by the
Thank you,
Seattle
Ellen.
Times,
Feel free to put it there, and we'll
copies of the report.
Thank you. We'll give it to the committee
Thank
members.
you.
Number 13, come on down.
Hi, I'm Paula Reese, and I've been a business owner here for 45 years. I've had to deal with Ike for 15 years in other cities. Please vote them down. They're simply a toehold. You need to understand who you're getting into a relationship with. They do large digital building fronts and also structures 10 stories tall in Miami that's extremely contentious. Like LA, we can say no up front because we know we're going to get litigated against at great expense by all the large media companies from around the world. And they rightfully should because they spent 7 years with the city of Seattle pre-COVID looking at the same deal, which was way better deal. And the people said no, just as they did in the Seattle Times article. Over 2,300 people opposed this. Thank you. I'll leave visuals.
Please do. Thank you. Next, we have number 14. Come on down, please. 14. Thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Hello. I'm here to support our ethics codes and to implore you all to not change, tinker with, water down, or rewrite the ethics codes to benefit those on the council who will benefit because they're landlords. Our ethics codes have been in place for 40 years and hold up to high standards like cities like Portland, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. Ethics codes help trust the votes made by the city council and to prevent corruption. And in closing, I want to say that there's unbridled corruption spewing coming from the White House like a poison, and we don't want it here in our city. I want you all to protect our ethics codes, no to corruption. It's simple. I want you all to do the right thing. And I want to say, personally, I'm a retired early childhood education teacher. I've never been able to own a house in this city, and I will always be a renter. And I want you to know there's a lot of hardworking people who can't afford the rent because the rents are too damn high.
Thank you. Thank you. Whenever you're ready. Whenever you're ready. Whenever you're ready. Oh. Whenever you're ready. Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
My name is Dee Powers, and I am a renter in District 3. I object to any changes in the city's ethics code. Seattle's ethics rules have stood for 45 years as a measure against corruption. To dismantle them now, while our country is reeling from the corruption, chaos, and authoritarianism of Donald Trump, is not just irresponsible, it is a betrayal of the public trust. This signals that this council may be more interested in consolidating power than in serving the people with integrity. Even if you believe you can vote impartially, that's besides the point. Trump also claimed to be above ethical scrutiny while stacking his administration with loyalists and profiting from public office. This proposal opens the door to the same kind of self-serving behavior. You are not the only people to have ever served on this council, and you will not be the last. Gutting mandatory recusal removes one of the last meaningful protections against corruption. Without it, there is no real way to prevent public officials from abusing their positions for personal gain.
Thank you.
Do not change the ethics code.
Thank you, Dee. Wait, whenever you're ready.
American Revolution.
Whenever you're ready, number 16.
Hello, my name is Jeff Paul. I am a renter in District 3 and a public school employee in District 7. I'm here today to oppose the ethics code change. As a employee with Seattle Public Schools, I'm subject to ethics code that I have to follow. I'm not allowed to accept any gifts from parents above a certain amount. And for a very simple reason, we don't think that our public servants should be profiting from their position. Makes a lot of sense, keeps us from being corrupt in how we deal with different families, different parents. People have more money bringing their kids to public schools. I think it's quite shocking that you all want to have lower ethical standards than public school teachers. And it's an absolute shame that you're not only doing this on its face, but the reasons why you're doing it are pretty unconscionable. One of the tenant protections that is looking to be repealed because of this is eviction protections for school-aged families and school-aged children and public teachers. I know families who have benefited from this. I've also seen families before this was put in place get evicted, and I've watched kids go from making A's to making F's and failing out of their classes because they went from having housing stability to having no housing. Shame on you, and this should be voted down.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're delaying the orderly conduct or progress of the public comment period.
Whenever you're ready, number 17.
Gabriel Jones, here to teach about ethics. I want to share a fun fact I learned this week with the audience because the majority of the council has already fully tuned me out when they saw I was one speaking. Did you know this council makes $65.32 an hour? Raise your hand if you make over $65.32 an hour. Wow, what a surprise. And yet they seek to enrich themselves off our backs. They seek to make more money off people being thrown into the street by evicting kids into the street while they're in school so they can continue the cycle of poverty. Sarah Nelson won't listen. Time and time again, we show that they will not listen when we try to do things a respectful way, the right way. They won't listen. We elect people who pass legislation, so we have ethics. But whatever we do, Sarah Nelson will tear them down to enrich herself. We aren't scared. You know why? Because we will vote you out. Any of you who vote for this, we will vote you out. This is very, very obvious. We are a fight for our communities. We will fight for our people. And at the end of the day, this has come time. If this was not clear before, we'll say it again. When renters' rights are under attack, what do we do? When renters' rights are under attack, what do we do? When renters' rights are under attack, what do we do?
Thank you. Alex, please sit down. Please sit down, Alex.
Engaging in behavior
All right,
that is
please sit
out
down.
of order in this meeting cannot.
Number
proceed
18, 19, and 20. Come on down, please. Thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Alan Francis, a renter in District 4. I'm here to urge you to vote no on changing our city's ethics codes. Seattle's ethics rules have stood for 45 years. Weakening them now erodes public trust in our local leadership and makes us question whose interests this council truly serves. While you trust in your fairness, altering these rules could open the door to the very self-serving behavior we've seen nationwide. We can't be sure of who will serve in the future, and removing mandatory recusal takes away one of our strongest shields against conflicts of interest. Without it, we're left reacting to ethical breaches instead of stopping them before they happen. It's deeply concerning that the Seattle Ethics and Elections Committee has not yet completed its review, offered a formal stance, or voted to these proposed changes. Proceeding without their thorough assessment shatters public confidence and suggests this council is evading independent scrutiny. Let's be clear, disclosure alone is not true accountability. Real accountability means accepting limits on your power even when it's inconvenient. It's impossible to truly serve and be accountable to others if you alone determine when the rules apply to yourself.
Thank you. Number 19 and number...
Failure to comply with the council rules is disrupted and delaying the orderly progress of this meeting. Go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
My name is Kate Rubin. I'm the co-executive director of Be Seattle and a voter and renter living in District 2. I'm here today to urge you to reject this proposed change to Seattle's ethics code that would allow elected officials to vote on issues when they have a conflict of interest. Changing the 45-year-old rules midterm, regardless of your intention, is a direct violation of public trust, especially now when we're facing unprecedented instability and corruption at a federal level. We don't know who's going to be in your seats in the future. This would remove the only meaningful safeguard that would prevent self-dealing. Without requirements to step back from conflicts, corruption becomes a cleanup job instead of something that we prevent. Elected officials should be held to higher ethical standards than the other city employees, not weaker ones. Please vote no on this bill. I also urge you to vote no on clogging up our sidewalks with ugly kiosks. Thank you.
Quiet in the house.
Number 20. Go ahead, whenever you're ready.
Hi, I'm Jordan Crawley, chair of the 34th District Democrats. Seattle's current code of ethics is clear. Public officials must remain independent, impartial, and act in service of the public good. Seattle's Democratic Party is standing loudly, proudly, and unanimously against the proposed rollbacks. This isn't a difficult ethical question. It's simply a question of why you're here. City Council needs to retain its requirements to recuse, but you won't because you're here for power, not people. Corruption, not community. Democracy depends on trust. Trust depends on clear, enforceable, and enforced ethical standards. We are living in a time when cynicism about government is already dangerously high. People are desperate for leaders who act with integrity, and support for this bill demonstrates that these leaders are in short supply at City Hall. Seattle City Council needs to reject the proposed amendments. We need more transparency, not less. More accountability, not loopholes, and public service, not self-service. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President, would you? Might have to go back to online, so.
Behavior and delaying the continuation of our public comment period.
Council President, would you like me to resume in person or go back to the remaining 3 virtual comments?
How many more people are in line for in-person in this batch?
This ends the this last person ended the 11 to 20 queue.
Okay, go ahead and let's go ahead with the last person here, and then we will proceed to the remote.
Okay.
Hi, Council. Thank you for having us today. My name is Chris Mackay. I'm the director of the West Seattle Junction BIA. I'm here to testify in support of the Ike kiosks. I'm pretty excited about them. I know you've heard a lot about their amazing capabilities and wayfinding, searching, allowing our local people just walking down the street to even discover new shops, as well as finding out about transportation options. But what I'm really excited about is the ability to communicate to my my community directly. We have over 40 events a year in the West Seattle Junction, and to be able to just communicate about those alone would really activate our area by bringing people into it and would benefit the local businesses. So I'm in support of these. I'm excited about them. I hope you are as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go from 21 to 30 after we finish remote public comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to transition to the remaining 4 in remote public commenters. Robert Marver, please press *6 to unmute yourself, Robert. Thank you. Hey, we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Robert Marver. I'm calling. Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. My name is Robert Marver. This is my first time calling to a city council meeting, and I'm speaking against Council Bill 120978. I think it's ridiculous that the council is trying to repeal the refusal requirement that has been in place for 45 years. Per Erica Barnett's reporting in Publicola, the refusal requirement has only been used 9 times in the last 25 years for city council. So when I hear arguments that say that this change will increase democratic participation in the city's affairs, what I hear are lies being spread by people on this council. And if I could speak to Chair Nelson, you've already lost the endorsement of the 46th District Democrats. And if you vote yes to approve this change to the ethics code, you will lose your seat in November. Thank you.
Just go ahead and call the next person.
Hey, next we got Jeannie Chun. Hey, Jeannie, if you can hear, *6 to unmute yourself. Hey, Jeannie, please press *6. Hey, Jeannie, please press *6 to unmute yourself, Jeannie. Jeannie Chun, please press *6. My apologies. Hey, Jeannie, if you can hear me, please. There you go. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Jeannie Chun, and I'm the co-founder and executive director of Seattle Residents United. I want to thank the committee for the time to hear from concerned citizens. I'm here to urge you to vote no on the ethics code resolution before you. This resolution to change the ethics code is a blatant attempt to allow corruption from council members that are currently landlords and employers to personally benefit from their own votes. The workers of small restaurants and bars deserve to live near where they work. They deserve to have stable housing to survive and thrive in their communities. They deserve the peace of mind knowing that they will not be evicted at a moment's notice. I hope the rest of the committee sees that the attempt by Councilmember Moore and Council President Nelson to change the ethics code will not only erode the trust of the entire council, but also the trust of city employees on the ground that work to serve our constituents on a daily basis. We need a city council that centers working class people, not corporate landlords, that protects families by keeping them in homes, that keeps communities safe by not allowing evictions during winter months. I hope that the council can find it within themselves to see the thinly veiled.
Time is up.
Jeannie,
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie. Hey, David Haynes, can you hear me? Please press *6 to unmute yourself whenever you are. Thank you. David, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Today, Seattle City Hall is a sacrilege to the democratic principles where greedy, untrustworthy, bad faith representatives are self-dealing and trying to change the ethics rules, working with the Ethics Commission, advising how to manipulate the rules to appease council's behind-the-scenes lobbying and intimidation. Council is conspiring to undermine the integrity of ethics so that they can get away with oppressing the working class, backstabbing the workers, and selling out a multitude of younger generations with all this upcoming legislation regarding landlord-tenants, your restrictions on the comprehensive plan, and selfish, greedy, personal, and family-privileged investments. The landlords are not a significant representation of the city's population, yet this council's amendments are doing their bidding, attempting to circumvent the integrity of rules, introducing legislation to change the conflicts of interest interpretations. This is unforgivable. May you be protested and civil disobediently interrupted throughout the rest of your political career, no matter where you go. Anyone who votes for this should resign, and any business that supports you should be boycotted and protest. We're better off without your misleadership. Give up this sacrilege to democracy and take away.
And the last remote speaker. Adrian, can you please press star six?
Hey. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hear us? Can you please press star 6? And whenever you're ready. Thank you. Adrian, whenever you're ready, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Adrian. I'm in in District 2. I'm calling to urge you all to vote no on the proposed ethics changes. Recusals aren't a nuisance, they're a safeguard. Removing this protection invites corruption and self-dealing. Shame on you, Kathy Moore, for being a front person for deep pockets and not for working class people.
Thank you. And that concludes.
I can hear you.
Number 21 to 30, you want to all come down? Number 21 down to 30. Come on down, please. 21 all the way down. And if you can please state your number as well.
21.
Can you say?
21.
Thank you. Go ahead, 21. Thank you.
Members of the council, my name is Carl Nelson. I'm a 16-year Seattle renter, District 4, small business owner, and a member of the Cedar Crossing Tenants Association. I'm here again today to express my disapproval for the proposed changes to City Ethics Code. The code has served the city well for over 40 years and helped to ensure public trust with the electorate. Creating an unprecedented recusal exception for council members among city employees alone at a time of rapacious corruption on a national level will only serve to damage that trust and open the door to rampant self-dealing. Seattle voters will remember this. They will not remember self-congratulatory speeches about good governance or incredibly cynical excuses for why they changed the rules mid-game in service of stripping away worker and tenant protections. In conclusion, Seattle voters are not stupid, and although we do make mistakes, we rarely make them twice. I urge you, the council, to withdraw the proposed ethic changes.
Thank you. Number. Go ahead whenever you're ready. My apologies.
Hello, my name is Acacia Potchment, and I am a resident of District 4. Councilmember Rivera, in past committee meetings, you have said that as a district-specific council member, you are worried that the implementation of the ethics code might limit your ability to properly represent your constituents. Well, I am your constituent. And I'm here now with a very direct question for you, which is, if you are worried about this mysterious contingent of your constituents whose voices aren't being represented, why has nearly every fellow D4 resident that I've heard give public comment here on this issue been opposed to this flagrant rollback of very basic and common sense ethics rules? Additionally, why has every neighbor that I have directly spoken to likewise been appalled by your tentative support for what amounts to legalized corruption? If you are truly representing the will of these unseen constituents and not just the $57,000 you've received in PAC donations from the corporate real estate lobby, where are they? As a previous commenter noted, disclosure without refusal is meaningless. I encourage you to listen to the countless voices of your constituents who have been brave enough to show their faces in this chamber and to speak up. Vote no on this rollback of important ethics rules.
Thank you. Amanda?
Again, your failure to comply with council rules is disruptive and delaying the orderly progress of this meeting.
Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Charlie LaFamme. I'm the communications director at MLK Labor. MLK Labor represents more than 150 unions, 220,000 working people across Seattle and King County. The Labor Council is vehemently opposed to the proposed rollback of Seattle's ethics rules. Trust in government is at historic lows. It's true from Washington, D.C. all the way down to local governments across the country. Instead of restoring confidence, this proposal does the opposite, allowing elected officials to vote on policies they stand to personally profit from. I get it. that these types of laws, they can slow down the act of governing, they can be frustrating, but they are essential to a healthy democracy. They create clear guardrails against conflicts of interest. They ensure laws serve the people they're intended to serve. The Seattle City Council has worked fighting strong ethics laws for decades, and changing them now for political convenience is a betrayal of public trust. Thank you.
Thank you. Whenever you're ready, come on down.
Hello, my name is Katie, and I just wanted to mention, like everyone's already said such good stuff, but I just wanted to say that the only reason I can be here is because I was actually laid off last week, but most constituents can't make it to a 2 p.m. on Thursday meeting. So I think holding a meeting about rolling back the ethics code at 2 p.m. on a Thursday is just low-key diabolical. So anyway, I think it's terrible, and also, the only reason I knew that this was even happening was because Councilwoman Rink sent out an email about it. But at a point when people are just so overwhelmed mentally with politics, they're having to disengage for their mental health. And so I feel like choosing to do something like this with the ethics code when people are more disengaged just feels very sus. It feels like taking advantage of people when they're not paying attention. But I don't know, I got laid off, so I am paying attention now. And I hope other people are paying attention. And I just don't support this, and I think it's terrible. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Whenever you're ready, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Seaton Grass. I'm the CEO and founder of Surf Incubator. We've been helping technology startups right downtown here in the Wells Fargo building for 16 years. I see the kiosk as an interesting addition, but I also see a limitation of only having 80 locations, and it doesn't address the needs of somebody having a pocket solution. And I've actually been working for the last 4 months on a mobile app that's a web-based app, so it can work on any device, and it will find all the information that's already being listed in the kiosk as proposed. Also, I've read through the documents about the various views opposing the application, and it often references a mobile app. Well, I have one. If you'd like to look at it, I'd be very delighted to show it to you. It's easy, it's fast, and we can make it free. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 27 to 30, come on down, please, whenever you're ready.
Yes, hi. My name is Caroline Sayer, and I'm from Fremont, District 6. Thank you for your time. I'm here to oppose any changes to the ethics codes. When trust in government is so low, this body has an opportunity to lead by example and reject personal gain over public service. I'm relying on you to protect us all, to commit yourself to public service and strong ethical standards. The current 45-year-old code works and keeps our elected officials accountable. To change the code is one way of betraying our trust and potentially harms the people of Seattle for all the wrong reasons. Please reject changes to the code and maintain strong standards. Thank you.
Thank you. Whenever you're ready, thank you.
My name is Natalie. I'm the organizer for Fairbuilt Washington, a nonpartisan nonprofit working on democracy reform here in the state of Washington. And like so many of the folks here, I'm also here again as a Seattle resident to express my opposition to the new proposal concerning the Seattle Ethics Code. Democracy is about having our voices heard, and so far, I have yet to hear a single voice in favor of this proposal. And I know hundreds of people have emailed the council in opposition. Seattle should be continuing its leadership in modeling a just and transparent democracy, not rolling back protections, especially during times like this. It harms transparency and democracy and erodes public trust. These ethical standards are already working and have been working for decades, so please put democracy into practice, hear the voices of your constituents, and maintain the safeguards that are already in place and have already been working for Seattle voters. Please withdraw this unnecessary proposal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We have 4 minutes left of our public comment period, which will end at 3:07. So when we get to 3:07, we will end public comment.
Whenever you're ready, thank you. Go ahead.
All right, good afternoon, council members. My name is Alex Olson. I'm a renter in District 4, and I'm a member of Workers Strike Back. I'm here again to speak in the strongest possible terms against this attempt to roll back the ethics code and attack renters' rights in Seattle. If renters' rights are repealed, it is the most marginalized people who will suffer the most. And can we trust council members Hollingsworth, Kettle, and Rivera, who have collectively received over $150,000 from the National Association of Realtors to support the working class of this city? And can we trust anyone who has to repeal their own ethics code in order to carry out their agenda? I don't think so. We need to see these corrupt politicians for what they are and reject this crass and shameless attempt to enrich themselves at the cost of Seattle's most vulnerable communities. We cannot let the landlords write our laws, and this attack will not be forgotten when you're up for re-election. That's right. And if you're here to fight for renters' rights, I urge you to stay after public comment for a rally with Workers Strike Back, and I urge you to come back and keep coming back until this attack is defeated.
Thank you.
Hands off renters' rights.
Thank you.
Hands off the
Thank
ethics
you.
code. When renters' rights are under attack,
Thank
what
you.
do we do?
Can you tell me your number again? My apologies.
Certainly.
Thank you. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lila Shori, and I'm a renter in District 4 and a member of Workers Strike Back. You may remember that I spoke in support of renters' rights on Tuesday, so of course I'm back today to do the same thing. I once again want to focus on the absolute absurdity of the situation. What we are discussing here is the repealing apart of an ethics code. You would think from that statement alone, it would be known that what city council members are trying to carry out is both unethical by their own standards and a blatant attack on renters. But if we're being honest, it's no surprise why members of the city council are trying to attack renters' rights. Multiple members of the city council are bought and paid for by landlords or even landlords themselves. I'm looking at you, council members Hollingsworth, Moore, Kettle, Rivera, Nelson, and Saka, who's not here. Our city council Democrats are once again proving they are no friend of working people. They are corporate shills that care more about lining their pockets than protecting their most vulnerable constituents. We won't stop coming back here until you back off from these attacks. And you can rest assured that this betrayal won't be forgotten come election time. When renters' rights are under attack, what do we do? When renters' rights are under attack, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Thank you.
We have time for one more public commenter. Please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Set. I live in Capitol Hill. I want to thank Councilmember Mercedes Rank for holding the line. Hopefully we can get you some allies soon. And for the rest of you, I'm wondering where your humanity is. As we're all Seattleites. We are watching people die in our streets every day. And repealing eviction moratoriums in the dead of winter or for families is literally contributing to death in our streets. So I really hope that you can find your humanity and your own ethics. I'm rooting for you. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
It is now 3:07. Can you hear me? On? Channel, can you hear me? Okay. Together, the public comment period, we have reached the end of our public comment period. It is now 3:07. And we've reached the end of our public comment period in order to get on with the rest of our agenda. I apologize to those of you who did not. I know you cannot hear me, but I am going to keep on talking. You can now be quiet. Fortunately, the chanting in between speakers has prevented us from hearing as many people as signed up. I apologize to those of you who did not get a chance yet to speak. and I ask that you please submit your written comments to the box in the front. I realize you are violating the rules of public comment, and order cannot be restored. We will now take a 15-minute. I am saying, Maritza, what I am saying is that I can't hear you. We cannot hear. You are preventing us from continuing with our. I already gave an hour, and you proceeded to take time in between speakers. We will now move on to our items of business. I said that we would go until 3:07, and that has, we're now past that time. Will the clerk please? Public comment period is now over. The clerk please read item 1 into the agenda.
Number 1, Resolution 320, a resolution granting conceptual approval to the Downtown Seattle Association to install, maintain, and
Multiple individuals are engaging in behavior that is out of order, and this meeting cannot proceed until order is restored. Order will not be restored. We have no choice but to go on. Order has not been restored, and pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, RCW 4230, the council will recess until this meeting can continue remotely. Members of the public may continue to observe this meeting in chambers. We are now taking a recess to resume. In
Council President. Council President. President. Council President. Council President.
Who needs to be thrown out?
President.
To the landlord's love. Let
Council
us
President.
Speak. Let us 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 speak.
President. Council President.
Time constraints, we must continue with the items of business. We will now take a 15-minute recess, and we will continue this meeting remotely. It is now 3:11.
Council.
Councilmember Solomon?
Here.
Councilmember Hollingsworth?
Present.
Councilmember Kettle?
Here.
Thank you. Chair Nelson?
Present.
5 present.
Thank you very much. Okay, would you please read item 1 into the record?
Yes. Agenda item number 1, resolution 32170, a resolution granting conceptual approval to the Downtown Seattle Association to install, maintain, and operate interactive media kiosks in public places located in the Metropolitan Improvement District and in participating business improvement areas. For briefing, discussion, and possible vote.
All right, thank you very much. So, colleagues, well, first of all, is it possible to take that presentation off the main screen? Or does it need to stay on there? Thank you very much. All right, colleagues, this is our second discussion of this legislation. Again, this resolution grants conceptual approval of the Downtown Seattle Association to install, maintain, and operate digital kiosks in the right-of-way within the Metropolitan Improvement District. We had a presentation and discussion at our May 8th meeting, and and it's up for possible vote today. As I noted before, I've been working in strong support of this initiative since basically taking office for many reasons, primarily because they elevate and provide the opportunity for people to know the local small businesses that are around people that are living, working, and visiting downtown. There's a long list of public benefits, and also because this will generate funds for our business improvement areas who provide essential services that make downtown and other parts of our city great in the especially the neighborhoods in which there is a BIA and people are paying into a pot of money to provide trash pickup, graffiti removal, events, etc. So I'm very pleased to have this before us today. We received a letter. I just wanted to note that we received a letter today from about 23 signatories representing various entities and aspects of downtown, including the Downtown Seattle Association, Friends of Waterfront Park Seattle, Seattle Kraken, YWCA, the Art Museum, etc. And the list goes on. And it says, we urge your approval of the proposed legislation to advance the IKE digital kiosk program in Seattle. And because it reflects years of community engagement, rigorous technical review, and a clear public-private partnerships that delivers broad public benefit at no cost to the city of Seattle. Instead of me listing the public benefits, I'll just provide the list of things that they identify. Real-time wayfinding and information in 100 languages, broadcast public safety alerts and emergency messaging connected to FEMA's system, promote local businesses, cultural events, and public resources, includes features for ADA accessibility and emergency call buttons, and generate significant reinvestment in downtown and other neighborhood business districts. So that is why I am excited to hopefully wrap up this piece of legislation today before we can move on to the actual council bill that accompanies the resolution. So with that, will the presenters please introduce themselves?
My name is Kara Katarzyna Vallier, and I am a Senior Policy Advisor in the Mayor's Office.
Hello, I'm Elise Wilson. I'm the SDOT Street East Division Director. Hello, my name is Amy Gray, and I'm in the Seattle Department of Transportation.
Council members, Calvin Shaw with Council Central Staff. I'm also.
Thank you very much. So we did have a presentation, a beautiful slide presentation last time, and a discussion. I think that what would be helpful here, we do have SDOT and our central staff analysts who produced a memo that we all received before the May 8th meeting. Calvin, would you mind just summarizing the main components of that resolution, please? And then we will open it up for questions. And then I will move the legislation. Go ahead.
So at your request, just to highlight my summary of the proposal that's before you, this is the resolution. It's the first part of the two-step process for council's approval of term permits. This term permit is a little different from most term permits in that it is a programmatic permit. And so most of our term permits do focus on an individual location. This one is for a number of kiosks throughout downtown and in other business improvement areas. My memo, which is dated May 5th, summarizes the proposal, which I think we discussed in quite some extent. It highlights the anticipated public benefits: free public Wi-Fi, display of public content, translation of displayed content, accessibility features, call button features, and financial support of the DSA's mission. It also identifies the anticipated public benefit mitigations, which include a decluttering strategy for the block faces where the kiosks are located, as well as a public realm improvement strategy for those same block faces, as well as regular trash and debris removal at those locations. I'd note that the director's report does highlight a few issues that are related for your consideration as you consider this proposal. One is that off-premises advertising is prohibited by the street use ordinance and the sign code. So this legislation would provide authorization superseding those restrictions. It would also, as discussed in the last meeting, there was a discussion around the surveillance and privacy portions of this program. While IKE does offer secure video for public safety calls in their offering, that is not a proposal for the kiosks that are going to be part of this proposal for Seattle. In addition, the director's report highlights a number of stakeholder feedback, both positive and negative. And then it identifies the Seattle Design Commission's recommendations. The Seattle Design Commission voted 5-4 against recommending the proposal, provided a number of feedback on permit conditions and public benefits that the council could consider as this proposal comes before you. And then lastly, I'll just say that the draft ordinance that's attached to the agenda is waiting for council's introduction and referral. That's the second part of the term permit process. It establishes the legal requirements for the term permit. And in addition, the proposed legislation would authorize the mayor to sign an MOU with DSA that governs the kiosk programs, business programs, the revenue share, and sort of the operating expectations for the program. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and move the legislation because if I don't do it right now, I'll forget later. So I will move it and then open it up for for questions and comments. I move that the committee recommend adoption of resolution 32170. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 32170. Now I will open it up to questions and comments. Councilmember Hollingsworth, it's my impression. Go ahead. I see your hand up. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Council President. Just a heads up, colleagues, I'm going to be withdrawing my amendment. I need to today for potential bringing it back to full council, further review of the language. My intent is based off ensuring that all neighborhoods can receive some type of benefit, not just the neighborhoods that have BIA earmarked to receive revenue. I believe that neighborhood districts should benefit because we are all one city. And so I will continue to work with, I'll continue to work with central staff to make sure that, you know, the language is tight, but just wanted to state my intentions on bringing this back to full council. So but will be withdrawing this today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. It is, I appreciate it. And just wanting to make clear that that is part of the second phase of the installation of these. The benefits will accrue to neighborhood business districts or BIAs across the city in the second phase of installation of this legislation or this program. And I completely understand your reasons for wanting to spread the love a little bit, where even if there is not an official business improvement area. Are there other council members on the committee that have questions or comments? Okay, Councilmember Rink.
Checking this microphone. Okay, I'll be using this one. Thank you for recognizing me, Chair. I understand I'm joining this conversation today primarily related to ethics, but wanted to engage a little bit on the matter of the legislation related to the kiosks since I'm here. And this is a question for central staff. My working understanding of just the sequencing of the approved resolution is intended to inform the subsequent ordinance. And if that is the case, is there a reason why we're bringing these two together in tandem, a part of the same committee agenda for today?
I think I would say that as a proposal, this term permit is it's largely the same level of attention at the front end because it is programmatic, because the permits will require further the kiosk will require further permits to actually be implemented. So issues like setting requirements and the like will come into it. It is true that the draft that has been presented to you of the ordinance was produced before the council has taken final action on the resolution. So you know, the folks who have drafted that ordinance are on this call. Can maybe speak to what they've heard and how they've tried to accommodate it. Other than that, it is at the council's discretion to make modifications to the resolution or the ordinance.
Thank you.
Does anybody from SDOT care to respond?
I think that what Calvin said is really a good summary, that the programmatic term permit is really unique. And while other term permits that we see and bring to you, there are significant structures that take a long time to build. And so there's like a connectivity between the parts of the process for installation and when we come to city council. So usually with a significant structure, it would already be an application and going through SDOT review for technical consideration, and it would be aligned more with the 60% design. And then we're coming back with the ordinance when it's more close to complete design, like 90%. So this is just a really unique proposal where it's something that we really want to make sure that there's no installation permits, and there won't be until this resolution phase. But there's also we need to get to the ordinance before we're really ready to allow the permits to begin to come in for installation review and site-specific analysis.
Okay, understood. That concludes my only question for today. And should this come before full council, I imagine I'll have some follow-ups. But thank you for allowing me to participate today, Chair.
No problem. And regarding the the issue about the sign code, it is true that that is something that has been noted. I do note that Article 5, Section 114 of the city charter does authorize the council to approve uses in the right of way that that would otherwise not conform to the sign code as long as there are, because of the public benefits that are associated with the use. So that is something that I just wanted to get on the record. Councilmember Kettle.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to echo that point really quick that I understand this is a unique application. And for me, one centered on public safety, first with the DSA mid, and then even in phase 2 with the BIAs, which obviously are in support of improving the business districts, but also serve a very important public safety function. That said, I understand to Councilmember Hollingsworth's comments earlier that not every area of the city or district has BIAs. So that's something that we should look at in terms of ensuring that various areas of the city are benefited from, not just certain areas. So thank you, Council President.
Thank you. And I do believe that the fact that the business improvement areas are actual city entities is why they were chosen, but I'm sure that there can be something worked out or understood later that can be worked into the actual terms or the citing process as we go forward. Are there any other questions or comments about this? Well, I will simply say that I'm not even going to mention the fact that there are going to be hundreds of thousands of people in this town that are here for some big games coming forward. This is something that I believe will, the meta benefit that I see is that on every single block face, as was alluded to in the letter that we received earlier today, there will be improvements to every block face where these are cited, and we're talking about hanging plants or the cleanup of clutter and debris that's already on the sidewalk. And so I see this as a catalyst for pedestrian improvement, for street side improvements, but especially for pedestrian and people who require sidewalks to get around in their day-to-day lives. And so that's an added benefit that it is not really brought out that much in some of the literature about this. But I think that when you think about the number of these that will be installed downtown and how many blocks will have that improvement, that is the responsibility of the vendor, that does add an added layer of intentional improvement without cost to the city. So, all right, and people had an opportunity to try it out when it was in the basement, or not the basement, but the first floor of City Hall on the 8th, or I believe it was the 7th or the 8th of last month. And so hopefully you got a chance to experience the many applications of the kiosks when it was here on site. So with that, I will ask one more time if there are any questions or comments before we proceed to a vote. Yes, go ahead, Cal.
Council members, I just wanted to just clarify one thing, that this is just the term permit authorization. So in terms of the use, the benefits, those types of issues, the specific issue that Councilmember Hollingsworth was alluding to was revenues that would come from the separate agreement between the city and DSA for the that's outside of the permit. So I just wanted to make a distinction between what is authorized in the permit and what is a separate MOU.
Yep. This is approving the conceptual design and the main actors at play here. All right. I am not seeing any other comments. I will also note that this has been a priority for Mayor Harrell as part of his downtown activation plan, because it will activate. And to me, yes, we can get some of this information from our phones, but looking up and gathering around or having a place to go for this kind of information presented in a visually appealing way is a way to sort of it forces looking up, gathering, and being part of the rest of downtown. And so that is why I especially like the fact that these are going to be placed strategically in areas where it will encourage gathering and inquisition. So in any case, go ahead, please. If there are no other questions, please, clerk, call the roll call on the vote.
Councilmember Rivera,
Aye.
Councilmember Solomon,
Aye.
Councilmember Hollingsworth,
Yes.
Councilmember Kettle,
Aye.
Chair Nelson.
Aye.
5 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you all. Will the clerk please read item 2 into our record? The motion, let me say this. The motion carries, and the committee recommendation that the resolution be adopted will be sent to the June 3rd City Council meeting. Pardon me on that. Can you please read item 3 into the record?
Item 2, you mean, Council
2.
President?
Yeah.
Agenda item number 2, draft digital kiosk programmatic term permit for briefing and discussion.
All right. We have some of the same presenters. I don't know if there is anybody that's going to be presenting that has not yet spoken, but I will simply say that due to the timing, due to how the timing went of the legislation, it was when the legislation was transmitted to the council, we will be hearing a presentation on the draft ordinance relating to digital kiosk programmatic term permit. And as I said before, we do have the same presenters at the table, and we're also joined by representatives of Ike. DSA was here. I'm not sure if he is still here in the audience in case council members have any questions for folks that aren't presenting the presentation today. So let's see. Cal, do you have anything to add before we move to the actual presentation?
No, I think we should turn this over to Esna. Thank you.
Okay. Please go ahead, Estot, with your presentation.
Sure, if I could say a few introductory remarks, and thank you so much for having me. To recap, the kiosk program, as you mentioned, is a part of the mayor's downtown activation plan to bring vibrancy and technology downtown in particular in preparation for soccer coming to the city in 2026 and utilizing our downtown Seattle association partner along with BIAs in different parts of the city. The mayor's office just wanted to acknowledge the years of legwork that has been done by DSA and with, of course, the department. This has been a comprehensive process, including community engagement, design commission engagement, and a thorough SEPA analysis, and ultimately will benefit from the deliberations of the council. We very much appreciate the questions and comments that we've received from all stakeholders, including council members, which have helped improve this proposal. And now I'll turn it to SDOT to give the presentation on the draft ordinance.
All right, is it all right if I share the screen now?
Yes.
All right, well, it'll just take me a minute. Hopefully, there was somebody who was helping us before, so I think I can do it though. Yeah, I can do it. All right, I think I did it.
Yay.
Yay. All right. Hi, everyone. Again, it's Elise Nelson with SDOT, the Street Use Division. I'm on slide 12 of our slide deck that is with the agenda, kind of just like fast forwarding to talk about the ordinance now. So the boxes on the screen are kind of key elements that we address in our term permit ordinance. And Amy and I will be discussing several of these today, but not in a huge layer of detail, but we're happy to kind of get into anything you have as far as questions. So again, I'll start kind of high level. Amy will dig into a little bit more detail, and then we'll see where we're at. The term permit establishes terms and conditions for the permittee, which will be the Downtown Seattle Association. There are many protections that are part of a term permit for the city, including, but not limited to, protection of existing utilities, requirements for the permittee and vendor to remove and restore kiosks where we require, requirements to keep the kiosks in good working order, and bonding and insurance requirements. We also have worked to establish some specific requirements on where kiosks can be located within the city, including prohibitions to make sure they're sited in locations that are adjacent to appropriate land uses, and siting requirements determined specifically for this use during our SDOT review and our SEPA analysis. We have detailed annual reporting requirements to help us understand how the program is working and identify areas for improvement in partnership with the DSA and IKE. Sorry, I didn't do this. One more thing. And have set prohibitions on data collection and retention. And finally, we have worked on a public benefit mitigation that is a requirement of this term permit, and we will be working closely with the DSA and the vendor, IKE, to develop that further during our kiosk installation phase. So next I'm going to turn it to Amy, and she'll give us a few more details on the term permit.
Thank you, Elise. So as you mentioned, the term permit ordinance goes into extensive detail on the conditions of the permit. It sets the term, and for this one, the first phase would be 16.5 years, and the second phase would be 13.5 years. The second phase would require city approval to move forward, so that it's really up to the city to decide at that point in the future how to move forward with this. It prohibits certain locations like historic preservation and special review districts, the waterfront and shoreline districts. It includes standards to address driver distraction, clearances for bus zones, commercial zones, truck loading zones, music vending zones, etc. There is language in the ordinance that protects street trees, and no street tree will be removed to locate a kiosk. It details the extensive maintenance obligations for DSA and the vendor. And there are maximum operation standards to address things like light and the brightness level from kiosks. They must be complementary to seamless Seattle signs in color, naming conventions, etc. And there shall be no flashing or strobe effects. Slide. Elise mentioned briefly the indemnification, insurance, and bond requirements. These are in the ordinance to protect the city in any event of catastrophe or lawsuit, etc. Insurance requirements and limits are determined by the city's risk manager. The bond covers the cost if the city needs to remove the kiosks. The SDOT director is allowed to adjust the bond and insurance requirements if we determine the amounts are insufficient to protect the city. As Elise mentioned, there's an annual reporting requirement that includes physical conditions, descriptions of any damages and repairs made during the previous year, and a summary of all complaints that includes how the complaint was resolved and a time frame to address the complaint. And it also has a requirement to provide the status of all public benefits that have been installed. There's notification and outreach requirements once IKE applies for the individual installation permits. And as noted before, there's public benefit requirements, including removing broken or unusable benches and other street furniture, and amenities to the streetscape such as bike racks, hanging baskets, murals, cinder blocks, art, etc. And importantly, as Elise noted, it prohibits DSA or IKE from collecting any personally identifiable information from someone walking by. And all these conditions are for the life of the permit. Next slide. Our recommendation is that City Council approve the kiosk term permit ordinance, and if approved, DSA and IKE can start installing the kiosk in the right of way after getting the installation permits issued. And this slide shows the next steps. As noted earlier by Council President Nelson, the full council vote on the resolution for June 3rd. We would like to come back to the July 12th Council Committee for a briefing and potential vote. And if that moves forward, we anticipate going to full council vote on an ordinance on June 24th. And I'll turn it back over to Louise. Thanks. Okay. Well, that is beautiful. Very good. All right. Well, that is our formal presentation. Thank you for your time. We hope that this presentation has been useful to kind of give you some information on the ordinance, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much for this presentation. Thank you for delivering it in an expeditious manner. Are there any questions from council members? Or Calvin, do you want to add any thoughts or comments?
I think the only comment I'd add is just a reminder that the proposed legislation will also give the mayor authority to sign the MOU, which is attached as attachment 1 to the draft. So if you're looking also for details that go beyond the term permit, they would be there.
Got it. Councilmember questions? Well, I have a question. Could you please speak a little bit about the surveillance capability of these kiosks?
Yeah, I can answer that, and then if we have more specifics, you know, we can turn it over to the other folks here. This was reviewed by the city IT's team that helps like kind of be our subject matter experts for all things privacy. There's no data collection allowed by the term permit ordinance itself. There's a specific section in the term permit. Maybe Amy can look it up, so in case you want to take a look at it. You know, I've worked all over the United States, and so there are different ways that this technology operates in different cities, but for Seattle, there will be no collection of data, no retention of data, no photography or video of folks. The only exception is the selfie cam. That is something somebody's they have to sign up and accept that. So they have to kind of click that and say, I want to take my selfie with the kiosk. So that's like really the only use. And like I said, it's been reviewed by IT. I think the term permits ordinance is section 25. So I'm happy to answer any follow-up questions or turn it over to other folks.
Okay, I am advancing the audience members here, the council members. I'm not seeing any hands raised from my colleagues. Can you please explain if these are vandalized, spray paint, etc., who is responsible for removing that?
The permitting will be the Downtown Seattle Association. So ultimately they're responsible, and they will work closely with their vendor, like Smart City, to handle any damage. And the term permit has specifics on kind of the expectation that they maintain them in clean, good working order at all times.
Got it. Thank you. Opening it for questions or comments from colleagues. Okay, well, thank you very, very much. We do have the draft, the legislation was transmitted, and so we do have it before us, and we'll be able to develop perhaps some more. I think that Cal will be working on a memo once he's able to go through the precise legislation now that it's been transmitted. And I just have to say that I respect some of the concerns that I've been receiving by email, etc. I will also about the aesthetics or the fact that we're putting an object in the right of way, but I will just note that Seattle is a city of innovation and we are a city of technology. And in this case, we are inviting technology to provide a whole series of public benefits that don't just benefit people that live and work here, but also the many visitors that will be coming to town in the not too distant future. And all presented in many, many languages so that it does overcome language barriers. And the members of the disability community have expressed support for some of the accessibility features that are also contained within these within the kiosks themselves. So I look forward to digging into the actual legislation and continuing our discussion at the next meeting. So thank you very, very much for this presentation. And without further ado, we will move on to the next item on our agenda. Thank you very, very much for being here. And despite the disturbance earlier, thank you very much for hanging with. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Will the clerks please read item 3 into the record?
Agenda item number 3, an ordinance relating to the Code of Ethics defining elected official, requiring elected officials to disclose any financial interest or conflict of interest prior to participating in legislative matters and amending sections 4.16.030 and 4.16.070 of the Seattle Municipal Code. for briefing, discussion, and possible vote.
Thank you very much. So, colleagues, this is our second discussion of Councilmember Moore's legislation, which is being deliberated in this committee because the chair of governance the governance committee oversees the Seattle Office of Ethics and Elections. So that's why it's here before us today. We have several amendments, as I noted before. I've asked Director Barnett to be here again to answer any questions that people might have as these amendments are discussed. And for the record, will our presenters just introduce themselves, and then I will proceed with the sort of the run of show and how we're going to get through the amendments. So please go ahead.
Ed Noble, Central Staff Director.
Wayne Barnett, Executive Director, Seattle Ethics and Elections Commission.
Thank you very much. So let's see. Before we place the bill before us and consider amendments, as chair, I'm proposing the following process. All right, so after the bill has been moved and placed before the committee, Councilmember Moore as sponsor will address the bill, and then council members will then move their amendments at the appropriate time. And after receiving a second, central staff will provide an overview of that amendment. And after central staff's overview, the sponsor will address the rationale for the amendment. And then finally, the sponsor, after the sponsor of the amendment says their piece, will open it up for discussion before voting. These steps will be repeated for each of the proposed amendments, and the order of amendments will be considered in numerical order. And please note that we do not have an amendment number 4. So unless there are any questions on the process, I'm not seeing any hands up. Let me see. I don't see any hands up on the process. All right, so I move that the committee...
Council President, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
I see that Councilmember Moore, you look like you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. I just need 1 minute. My script is not correct on this, so if you could just give me 1 second.
Sure.
Council President, I'm sorry, I can't figure out where my hand is to raise here. May I? Here we go.
Okay. Do you have... Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Rivera.
While Councilmember Moore is working on her remarks, I did have some questions overall about the legislation, and since Executive Director Barnett and Director Noble are here, I wondered if this was the appropriate time to ask the question, or to, I guess, make comments about the
Sure. Let me move the legislation, and then then it's fine if you ask a question. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay. I move that the committee recommend passage of Council Bill 120978. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to recommend passage of Council Bill 120978. And Councilmember, I would like to provide for Councilmember Moore to introduce to say her piece about the legislation, and then go ahead and open it up for questions before we get into the meat of the amendments. I think that's a little bit more orderly. Is that all right with you, Councilmember Rivera?
Of course. Thank you, Council President.
Okay. All right. It's been moved and seconded to recommend passage of the bill. Councilmember Moore, as sponsor of the bill, you're recognized in order to address it before we proceed to general questions and then amendments. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for your indulgence there. So I did want to first say thank you to Council President for allowing me to join the committee again today for further discussion and addressing my amendment and additional amendments. I did want to open with some context for this legislation. Again, for some background on the drafting of this legislation, in November, our legal counsel forwarded an email to all council members from our Seattle Ethics and Elections Executive Director, Wayne Barnett, who's here with us today, in which he outlined his thinking on a possible update to the Seattle Code of Ethics. Certainly as a lawyer and former judge who was and is responsible for adhering to a proper recusal and disclosure protocol, I took special interest in this idea. I too have had many of the same concerns that we've heard from some of the public commenters throughout this process. So, and certainly I think at first mention of removal of a recusal provision, that would certainly raise some bells for me and others. So I asked our legal counsel to look at other models for how other jurisdictions handle this, and ultimately came to the same conclusion as Director Barnett, that Seattle is somewhat of an outlier in how our ethics code is currently written. So I think it's important to remember that when we heard at the last committee meeting from both Director Barnett and also from the chair of the Seattle Ethics and Elections Commission, that there is, and as they stated, there is no gold standard for how to do ethics, and that there are different models. And when you look at the different models throughout the states, you'll see that there are a variety of models, and they outline some of those models as well. And really ultimately becomes a policy decision. I think it's important to address some of the issues or potential concerns that were raised earlier in comments today. Many people have said, well, why are we changing something out after 45 years of working so well? And I think Wayne can speak to this as well, Director Barnett. This actually has not worked so beautifully for 45 years. And in fact, there have been significant changes made to the ethics code over the past 45 years, which are now are the reason that we have the code written as is, why we had to create an exemption for people to vote on taxes and levies, and also why we have the exemption for a substantial segment of the population. So I say this because this is a work in progress. It is an iterative process, and it is something that I think we need to keep in mind. Nothing is cast in stone. Additionally, I think the other thing that's important to note is the concern that somehow this will open the floodgates to corruption. And I want to be very clear that I certainly do not believe that, nor do I believe the director of the Ethics and Elections Department or the chair of the Ethics and Elections Commission believe that. It's important to remember that all of our behaviors are also still governed by the state code of ethics. And there are, as outlined in Council Lauren Henry's memo, there are 4 prohibited acts under the state statute. Additionally, regardless of what we do here today, there are additional local prohibitions on the acceptance of things of value, improper use of an official position, and importantly, having an interest in a city contract. That's often where we see corruption, if there's going to be corruption. And this amendment that I'm bringing forth at the behest of the Director of Ethics and Elections has no effect on that particular provision, nor does it have any effect on the provision prohibiting us from participating in quasi-judicial matters if we have an interest in that. So really what we're trying to look at here is a way to basically make some adjustment to the ethics law to allow it to work better. It has not been working well. And we are attempting to make sure that it does not wind up becoming a politicized process that would, in fact, disenfranchise voices that are not always heard, not always popular. And I think it's important to recognize that there are, as I said, many other states that approach this in a way that provides more guidance and also a broader, it's not quite so rigid. So the other thing that I wanted to note is that I had thought about bringing an amendment because of the sense of people feeling that perhaps moving straight to disclosure is too big a step and that we ought to keep a recusal provision. But based on the amendments that colleague Councilmember Hollingsworth is bringing, I did not feel the need to do so. So that's why I'm only bringing forth my one particular amendment at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Before proceeding to Councilmember Strauss, I asked you, Councilmember Rivera, to hold off until Councilmember Moore, the sponsor, could speak. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you, Executive Director Barnett, for being here. I just want to say that I had the opportunity, Director Barnett, that you and I spoke earlier in the week. I had originally reached out to you at the onset of the review of this legislation because I was trying to better understand the context behind your recommendation. I want to thank you for explaining the recommendation actually preceded this current council. And that was actually, I think it's an important point because there's been a lot of discussion about this current council bringing this one. In fact, your recommendation came up before this current council. And it's really in part related to the advent of this New York Council district model. I think that had something to do with it, and you can confirm.
Yes.
Yep, and what seems to be more legislation, and what seems to be legislation, requiring disclosure to address, this requiring of disclosure, and questions about whether or not to recuse had come up, and how, and in what instances, and again, all this stemming from the prior council. And I want to make sure that my colleagues also had the benefit of our conversation, and then also to make sure that I understood properly what you were communicating to me.
Okay.
So is that correct? All of what I've laid out?
Yes, I believe it is. I mean, it does come down to the interplay between the democratic process and the ethics code. That's really why we're all here. Because what's happened of late is the ethics code is being employed sometimes to attempt to frustrate a council majority. If 5 of you are aligning one way on a vote, I'm hearing from people who are trying to pick off 1 or 2 of you to kind of frustrate that democratic process. So that's where my concerns arise from. Yes.
Thank you. And this stemming from the last council, not just this council. And I say that because I did some research, and it looks like you brought a similar piece of legislation in 2018. And basically that piece of legislation you brought in 2018, or tried to, that recommendation you brought, is basically what stands with us today.
Actually, that's not true. I'm sorry, we weren't behind that in 2018. I think that took place without our office's involvement. But it is, I mean, it does, that was at a time where I believe we had the landlord-tenant stuff, and Councilmember O'Brien telling him that as a landlord, he shouldn't be voting. So yes, that was something that came up then.
And I thought that it came up as a recommendation from you. At least that's what I found online at the time.
Okay. All right.
So that's where
I'm not sure it was, but
so if it wasn't from you, that's what I read. So
okay,
you can clarify if it, so you're saying it didn't come from you, it came from someone else, or?
Yes, it was not from us. We didn't recommend moving to a disclosure model then. But like I said, I've been in this line of work for 20 years here at the city, and before that for 5 years at the State Ethics Commission in Massachusetts. And to me, I found the disclosure that we had there better in terms of kind of reinforcing the democratic process, making sure that democracy works and we elect people and you do what you're elected to do, and then you go to the voters again and they turn you out or they keep you in office. So I really think the role of the ethics code in kind of like frustrating the democratic process is a concern to me.
Which is why you brought the recommendation.
Yes.
And colleagues, I just want to say that I've worked at the city for a number of years now, and I want to also disclose that I know Wayne. I've known Wayne for a long time now. I've had the pleasure of working with Wayne. As part of my work for the city, I've reached out to Wayne on many of occasions, and you can confirm that, Wayne.
Yes,
Because
I can confirm
and I always want to be on the side of transparency and accountability and ethics. And the reason why I reached out to you is because I cared about this recommendation that you made, and I trust your recommendation. It's important to me that this recommendation came from you, and also it's important to me that we are really listening to the recommendation that you are making in particular, because you are the person at the city designated with looking at the ethics and making decisions about these things, which is why I've always come to you. So all that to say, I believe, that this recommendation came from you after what I think to be a thoughtful consideration on your part. Even if that one in 2018 wasn't you, I know it has come up. And that
Yes.
Your recommendation now, this is coming from your recommendation based on your experiences. You've been here and all that you've done even before we came here, because as you and I talked about, this came up for you even before this council.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Wayne, for being here and for clarifying for us. Like I said, I rely on you and value your opinion the most on this. And so, like I said, it was important to me that we heard directly from you about the reason why this recommendation was coming, and that this is something that, in your opinion, as you quoting you the other day, I think this is a good idea.
Yes, I do think it's a good idea.
Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate that. Thank you, Council President, for the opportunity to like I said, I wanted to make sure you all had the benefit of our conversation because I think it was an important one. And also just to say and highlight the tremendous work that Wayne does every day on behalf of the citizens of the city, well, the residents of the city, and making sure that, he's keeping elected officials and city employees, because in my work, it was really related to city and the work that the departments are doing and the mayor's office for that matter. You keep us in line with what is the ethics rules and values, and it's something that I highly value as a person who has a law degree. It's something that is really valuable to me and something that I hold as my gold, ethics is something that is the most important to me, because as my dad said, who didn't have anything in his life, he had his word, and you only have your word. That's what you're born with, that's what you die with. And so that is holding myself accountable and ethical is the most important to me above all else. So anyway, thank you, Council President, for indulging me on those comments. And thank you, Wayne, for making those clarifications that were important to me. Thank you.
Well, while we're on that topic, I do have a further clarification, if I may. Director Barnett, so whatever happened to that legislation, was that Councilmember O'Brien's legislation, and then did it go to a full vote, or?
I don't believe it was Councilmember O'Brien's legislation. Ben, you may recall how that came up in 2018. I thought it might have been Council President at the time, Harrell, who brought it forward, but I'm not sure.
I believe that Councilmember Harrell brought it forward, but perhaps on behalf of another council member. I think there was an issue related to I know there was an issue related to the waterfront at one point, where there was a recusal requirement and a question about whether or not that was really fulfilling the overall goals of the ethics legislation or not.
Okay, Councilmember Strauss.
Thank you, Council President. And just to clarify, are the chambers, I know this has been a little hard to track where this committee's meeting. Are the council chambers and Seattle Channel cameras on right now?
I don't know. I'm sitting right here. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, I'll ask my questions, and if the Seattle Channel cameras are on, I'll go back out to chambers. Yes, this legislation has been before us before in 2016 and 2018. Both of those councils rightly decided not to lower the ethical standards even after we established our council districts. Executive Director Barnett, I believe I've heard you make the argument that the ethics change may be beneficial because of concerns with our districted council system. For example, if a districted council member has a financial conflict of interest and has to recuse themselves, the thought is that people in the council district have lost representation. Is this an accurate portrayal?
Yes, that is accurate.
Okay. Well, so first, we may be elected by district. I want to be very clear. We each represent the entire city. You've all heard me say I'm elected by the people of Magnolia, Fremont, Finney, Green Lake, Greenwood, Crown Hill, Ballard, many other micro neighborhoods, and I represent the entire city of Seattle. When I do my job, I do it on behalf of the entire city, and I know that I'm taking actions in support of all Seattleites while I'm on this council. Second, I want to clear up and dig into what I perceive to be a misconception. If a district council member has a financial conflict of interest, the residents in that district are still in fact represented in votes. They are represented by 2 citywide council members, and I think that that gets lost sometimes. Executive Director, if a district council member recuses themselves, are they still in fact represented by the citywide council members?
They are, but I would say that there's a slight difference there. They don't have the person who they have elected to represent their district's views. So
have they not elected them?
They have, but they haven't elected. They're not the district. They're not the person who's you in your Ballard. I mean, I think that's, you owe Ballard your duties. And I think in a way that Councilmember Nelson and Councilmember Rink, they don't, I'm sure they get calls from everywhere, but I don't think they're paying as much attention to people call from Ballard as you are.
So that's where I disagree, and I disagree very strongly because, and let me share why. When we are working in Ballard, for instance, I'm working on behalf of the entire city. I'm using it as a pilot. I use for colleagues the example of community safety ambassadors. We have community safety ambassadors and a community safety coordinator in Ballard, and that program I have worked to scale to the Chinatown International District and up next Capitol Hill in working with the council members from those areas. So we've just seen the community safety ambassadors deployed in Chinatown International District, and Councilmember Hollingsworth also has a community safety coordinator in Capitol Hill, which is the pre-step to the safety ambassadors. So I strongly disagree, because if I am just going to look after my own district, then I'm not serving all Seattleites. And that's where I have a strong disagreement, that I need to be just as concerned about the good and the bad things that are happening in the Chinatown International District as I am for my own district. I'll go on to say,
Pardon me, please
Sure.
take a moment. You missed my instructions when I opened the meeting. I did say if council members have follow-up questions or additional questions or questions for our presenters, I ask that you raise your hand to be recognized to continue to speak instead of engaging in a back and forth. And that is especially important. And I did also say that I would be calling on my on committee members to speak first. We are under a time constraint and we have 5 or 6 amendments to get through.
May I just
So
close?
I would like you to finish your point, and then I will go on to the next hand raised.
Thank you. I'll also state that city residents are represented by the mayor, who has the ability to veto or sign any legislation. I'm also not sure that in 2013, when Seattle voters decided to create council districts, that they intended for us to lower our ethical standards because of it. When Mayor Harrell was on council in 2018, I'll quote from him. This is his quote from 2018, and saying, "I'm looking at the federal government with our executive, with our current executive. Lord knows what financial interests he has that are affected by the executive decisions he's making, because there's very little disclosure from that person. I look at how the state legislature, certain, I think, are taking some hits, properly so, because of their exemptions on the OPMA. And I look at what we are trying to create as a city, as a model of transparency and a model of saying that there's no self-dealing, no financial gain, and that we're here to serve the public. Even though we are by district, What trumps that is the fact that if we stand to gain financially, we should recuse ourselves. So I know that there was some conversation about whether Mayor Harrell sponsored or was supporting this legislation a couple minutes ago. His statement clearly was that we should not vote if we stand to gain financially. Thank you.
Noted. Councilmember Rivera, did you have your hand up? Councilmember Rink.
I did.
Wait, did you have? Then go ahead.
I will pass. You can come back to me. Thank you.
And remember, people, we have a lot of amendments to get through, and Councilmember has to leave. It has a hard stop. So please go ahead, Councilmember Rink.
Sorry, this is Clerk Dedman just jumping in to confirm that the chambers are on and Seattle channel is also on.
Wonderful. Well, hello from council chambers. I wanted to at least take a moment to just respond to what Director Barnett has stated. Speaking as one of the citywide council members, I represent the entire city. We are engaged deeply in constituent matters across every district. I was just in Magnolia last night discussing and listening to public comment alongside Councilmember Strauss related to the Fort Lawton project. So whether it's turning streetlights back on in District 1 out in West Seattle, or doing neighborhood walks in Madrona, we show up everywhere. We serve everybody. And so the notion that our citywide council members' votes or perspectives are not potentially as valuable, or that our roles are in some way like meaningfully different when it comes down to our votes, I just have to refute that notion and needed to state that for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I don't see other. Councilmember Rivera.
I do. I know folks have a lot of opinions about this. I don't think anyone is saying that the at-large members are not valuable, and I don't think anyone is saying that council members don't all represent the interests of the entire city. But what folks are saying are that those of us that are district specific, are in our districts day in and day out, and we do owe a duty to our constituents in the district that they are relying on us on a daily basis in a different way. And I will say that oftentimes constituents will reach out to me, never having reached out to the at-large members. And that makes sense because, they feel very strongly, that I'm responsible for, they voted for me and I directly answer to them. So I don't think in this conversation it's helpful to disparage one or the other, but it is a fact that as a district specific, constituents do look at us, and I don't want to disparage Director Barnett's comments because I didn't think his comments meant that somehow the district-wise don't count as much. And I do think that there is a difference between district-specific and at-large. And still, so really wanted to say that because I don't want to disparage one or the other, but I also don't want to disparage Director Barnett, who again works day in and day out to make sure that our ethics rules are being followed, and I think he does an excellent job and has done so for many, many years.
And that particular issue about district representation had to do with a very district-specific piece of legislation, which was the assessment for waterfront property owners for the waterfront park. And I believe that the issue there was that Councilmember Bagshaw did own property in the very area, in the neighborhood that was then going to be impacted by the legislation. There was high interest in the legislation by her constituents and then was not able to vote either way. Councilmember Kettle.
Thank you, Council President. I got the sense that we're about to go to amendments, so I just wanted to make some general comments ahead of time, and basically three parts. First part is, understanding the current situation. I recognize that this difficult circumstances that we're in right now As noted in the previous discussion, there's the question of representation, the whole district versus citywide piece. Also ethics, is part of the baseline of democracy and the foundations of democracy. So it's very important. So I recognize that adds to the difficult circumstances. And then there can be some complex policy considerations. I did sit down with our council and then separately with executive director of the commission, but also the chair of the commission itself, in addition to the executive director. And it's also difficult because there's a lot of swirling and contradictory narratives and messaging and the like. One of those is this idea that we're, enriching ourselves, basically do our service on the council. And contrary to assertions, at least I'm speaking for myself, by the way. I'm not speaking on behalf of the council, just for myself. My net worth is really largely dependent on what the King County assessor thinks my property is worth, or what's happened with an inflated stock market. Although I would like to say that I like to think I have a good financial plan, but those numbers and those circumstances are really related to that. And I see the challenge that we're facing is primarily centered on those in real estate, obviously the landlord question, but also small business. And there's different pieces that go to that. And I think we should be having grace in this and civility, because we do have small business owners on the council and landlords as well. And related to real estate, it's a little bit ironic given the new state law related to rent increases and the like. Regarding these swirling narratives and messaging, one of the pieces that's missing, for example, is the financial state of the affordable housing providers, given the recent past landlord-tenant laws, and that's not being discussed at all, and that's of concern, and it goes to this idea of these contradictory narratives and messaging and the like. And just for the record, I was a tenant until I was 47 years old. And yes, I was a landlord, but for a decade and nearly a half, but that was in Western New York, and that ended years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. So I just wanted to say that up front. And regarding ethics, I just wanted to state again that it's extremely important for our democratic experiment, especially in the face of constant threats into democracy. I understand what's happening in the other DC. I don't like tying what's happening here in Seattle to the other Washington. I'm mindful of it, and I understand the point, but I like being centered on us. I'm also mindful of the principle of passing an ethic law on ourselves, and that's an important consideration I think that we should be walking through. I'm thinking of the fact of our pay, the fact that we cannot give ourselves a pay raise. Our pay is the same today as it was in January 2024, and it's going to be the same, or at least for those that are elected, came in office in January 24, as it would be in December 2027. And that's a consideration, and that's a principle that we have here in terms of passing legislation that's directly related to ourselves. Ethics, again, in some ways difficult, but also somewhat simple too. And this came out in discussions with council and those representatives that I mentioned earlier. And as I understand it, we have about 3 main options. One is maintaining the bright line kind of approach, kind of what we have now, the adjudicative piece, and then also the disclosure, which this bill kind of goes to. I think in a lot of ways, these can all pass the FAST test, the feasible, acceptable, suitable test in different parts around the county and the state and the country. But the question is really, does it pass the test here in Seattle? Ultimately, for me, it's important too, is that it's not what, but also how and when. Clearly, the why in this is clear because of the foundational tenets of democracy, rely on ethics. But for me, it's not so much the what in terms of the legislation, but the how and when. And so the process, I would be upfront and frank, has been a little bit frustrating for me. I would like to be able to discuss this issue with, our colleagues and my colleagues in the CP and the idea of a blue ribbon panel that included the Seattle Ethics and Election Commission's executive director, the commissioners, not all necessarily, maybe academics from UW's Evans School or Seattle University, with its Jesuit approach, local statesmen and women, former council members. You mentioned one earlier, Council President, who have this experience of both serving citywide and district, and being smart of that. I think we should, there's again, swirling narratives, questions regarding ours versus other parts of the state, in terms of so what is happening truly at King County itself, or the various jurisdictions in King County and the state, and having this all laid out. And I'm concerned that we would benefit from, the concern is this essentially an inside out approach versus an outside in. And I like the idea of having a panel walk through these things in a very transparent way with all the, the various pieces being discussed, again, in that very transparent way here in 25, and then with the elections in November, basically have the council take it up in 2026. That's up front the way my council would have been if I was asked about this, particularly early on, in terms of, way ahead of an approach. Now we are where we are, and so another approach, and I did have a draft amendment number 7, and I was thinking about doing as a walk-on. I think I may hold because there are a number of amendments, and I would like to talk to the council about those amendments too, to essentially create an effective date of January 2028, going to the ideas and the points that I made within my remarks. Again, I recognize the desire. I recognize the the important considerations and decision points and the policy points. But for me, I just wanted to be upfront. This is how I look at this topic, and I say this with all respect to everyone involved, to include my colleague, Councilmember Moore, Council President, but all my colleagues regarding this topic. So, Council President, I appreciate the opportunity to speak on this topic ahead of the starting of the amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see one more hand up, and then we do have to get to the amendments. So go ahead, Councilmember Solomon.
Thank you very much, Council President. And I'm going to keep my remarks brief because we do have amendments to be voted on, and I don't want to delay on that. So actually, just a couple of quick questions of examples. So getting to the issue of, say, landlord-tenant stuff. All right, I'm a landlord. I have a duplex. I rent out the other. I live on one half, and I rent out the other side. If there's something that comes before council that has to do with landlord-tenant law that affects every landlord, not just me, would I have to recuse? So I'm asking that of you, Director Barnett.
Is the property in Seattle?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You likely would. If you would have a financial interest in it, you would still have to recuse yourself. Yes.
Okay. Now, say I'm a renter in Seattle. Okay. And there's a landlord-tenant bill that comes before us. As a renter, would I have to recuse?
No, just because the number of renters is so much higher in the city than the number of landlords, renters qualify for that substantial segment exception.
Okay, and that's where I was trying to get at because, again, if something is affecting, this one duplex owner, but it's affecting all duplex owners, again, is there an exception to that? Because, me as the guy living in one half of the duplex is not going to benefit more than anybody else who's, renting out a duplex.
Right.
So that's
yeah. I think the problem is that there are so few landlords in the city. We looked at it. I think there were roughly 3% of the city were landlords when we looked at this maybe 10 years ago. I can't imagine it's moved much, but that's why you would still have to recuse yourself.
Okay, got it. All right. Another example, so I own a comic book store. Okay. And there's legislation before us that's going to impact me, Golden Age Collectibles, Xanadu, and the whole bit. In that case, would I have to recuse because I'm also owning a comic book store?
Yes, I think I would give you that advice tentatively right now. I'd need to know a lot more about the business and all that, but yes, I believe you would have to recuse yourself.
So what I'm trying to get to is this. Have you had a chance to read all the amendments that have been for the
Yes,
5 amendments?
I have.
In your opinion, as the guy who we turn to, is what's being proposed via the amendments strengthen our ethics code, or does it weaken it, as a lot of the commentary that we heard, that's what folks are concerned about, that we're weakening ethics standards, that we're basically opening the door for corruption. And I just want to get a clear sense. Does this help us? Does it hurt us? As you look through those amendments, what's your take?
I'm not really sure I can give you an ethics take on that. To me, I think it might help from a democratic standpoint. Again, the democratic process. We're all elected to make these decisions, and to me, the ethics code should really be treading carefully anytime it's telling an elected official that they can't vote on a matter. So,
okay, gotcha. Okay, because again, what I'm looking at is not either disclosure or recusal. I'm looking at both, because I think both would lead to transparency, which would lead to trust, and very specific guidelines as to when a council member needs to recuse. And I think it's very clear from your guidance as to when that would have to be. Is there a specific interest that benefits me versus anybody else in the city? Then yeah, obviously. So again, we have these amendments. We're short on time. Thank you for indulging me, Madam President, and let's get these amendments and get going.
Great. Will the clerk please call? No, not the roll. Let's see. Who is?
Amendment 1.
Yep. Okay.
Me.
Go ahead. Councilmember Rivera, would you like to address this amendment before recognizing Councilmember Moore as the author?
Yes, thank you. At this time, Thank you, Chair. I move to amend Council Bill 120978 as presented on Amendment 1.
Second.
Great.
It's been moved and seconded to amend the bill as presented on Amendment 1. Council Central Staff, will you please walk us through the amendment, and then the author will be able to speak to it.
You're muted.
Thank you for that. So this amendment has two key components, both of which relate to transparency, and I think can be read as really trying to enhance the transparency and in some ways better fulfill the intent of the original bill. So substantive, but specifically focused on transparency. The first element has to do with non-legislative matters and the disclosure regarding non-legislative matters. The way that the bill before you was drafted, there had been a requirement that for non-legislative matters where there is a conflict, that notification by council members be provided to both the director of the Ethics Commission and to the city clerk. Reporting to the city clerk was lost in the current drafting. So this amendment would restore that. So again, for non-legislative matters, elected officials would be required to disclose if there was a conflict of interest, both to the executive director of the Ethics Commission and to the city clerk. So again, enhanced transparency. The second, again, has to do with disclosure for legislative matters for which there is a financial interest or some other conflict of interest. And just clarifying that, again, as written, there's a requirement for a council member to publicly state that that they have that conflict. But that could happen at the committee level, and not all council members would necessarily be in attendance. And then if the matter then when the matter moves to the full council, there isn't specifically a requirement in the current bill that conflict, that the disclosure about that conflict be repeated for the full council, and this amendment would add that additional transparency as well. Again, if you think about how this would work, if your council member is not a member of the committee, they wouldn't have a reason at the committee to announce, to disclose that they had some conflict. So that would naturally happen at the full council. If you were a member of the committee, you would do it at the committee first, but again, under this additional requirement, you would do it again at the full council. So again, not changing the rules about when disclosure occurs, but rather enhancing the transparency, both for non-legislative matters and for legislative matters as well.
Okay. Thank you very much for that explanation. Councilmember Rivera, would you like to address this amendment before recognizing Councilmember Moore as the author, or you can just hand it over to Councilmember Moore?
I'm bringing it on her behalf since she doesn't sit on this committee. So really, this is on behalf of Councilmember Moore. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you very much. I think Director Noble has explained this very clearly and well. It's really just to clean up a few things that were not clear or left that dropped to ensure that we are having maximum required disclosure. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm not seeing any hands raised. All right, no comments I'm seeing. Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of Amendment 1?
Councilmember Rivera?
Aye.
Councilmember Solomon?
Aye.
Councilmember Hollingsworth?
Yes.
Councilmember Kettle?
Aye.
Chair Nelson?
Aye.
5 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you very much. The motion carries and Amendment 1 is adopted. Let's see. Will the clerk please read go ahead and, not the clerk, but I recognize. Yeah, go ahead. Councilmember Hall, you're welcome to please go ahead.
I move to amend Council Bill 120978 as presented for Amendment Number 2, Version C.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to amend the bill as presented on Amendment 2, Version C. Council Central Staff, will you please walk us through it?
Absolutely. So I would candidly describe this as probably the most substantive amendment before you today. And it seeks a technical point too. There was an earlier version B. This version C is identical in terms of the substance. There's an additional recital that has been added to provide further clarity for the rationale and how sort of an expectation about how this would work. And actually in a moment, I think I'm going to read those recitals because I think they actually do a very good job of setting out the intent and the scope here. So what this fundamentally does is introduce a standard for recusal. So with this amendment, there would be a recusal required in certain circumstances, notably more limited circumstances than under our current ethics code, but obviously somewhat more restrictive than the bill that is before you now for your consideration. So, and in particular, and it's the issue that this is trying to get at is trying to measure or to capture the depth and degree of the potential conflict. And in cases where that conflict is most direct and most significant, requiring recusal. I would describe this as potentially sort of a middle ground between, again, the current code, which requires recusal if there's any financial interest, and what has been proposed, which would clearly require disclosure in all cases, but not require recusal in most. Let me, for a moment, actually read some of the language that's both of the recitals and what's specifically proposed, and then offer up a couple of examples at least that I've been working on with Lauren. And I should add, actually, in all of this work, Lauren Henry is a primary author of all of these pieces here. I've been working with her very closely on this, so I'm comfortable presenting them to you, but just to give credit where credit is due. So again, just to motivate the amendment itself, and doing so by reading these recitals. While elected officials will be able to disclose their financial interest or conflict of interest on legislative matters, so I want to be very clear, this applies to legislative matters. When the elected official's financial interest is impacted to a greater or lesser extent than that of other members of the same profession, occupation classes, or groups that are affected. So the idea is that you look for situations where the elected official's interests are not in line with other people in the group. So to use council member, one of the examples earlier, if there was something specific about the duplex that was owned that made it very specific to that individual, and I will use some other examples in a moment. So again, and then reading the second recital, I think is also important. When reviewing the elected officials' financial interest in their participation in a legislative matter, the Ethics Commission and its executive director will determine, and this is the key language here then, whether the regulated matter produces a unique and direct gain or loss that is specific to the elected official, but not other persons or other entities regulated. So again, this will require recusal in cases where there's something that is specific to the financial interest of the elected official. That same language is repeated essentially in the code itself. So if you look at the last page of the amendment, and then the added language, however, if the elected official's financial interest is impacted, again, this is the binding language, is impacted to a greater or lesser extent than that of other members of the same professions, occupations, classes, or groups affected by the legislative matter, they would be required to recuse. To offer up some examples, and in sort of in the spirit of ones that Councilmember Solomon had described previously, I imagine a situation where one or more council members is a small business owner, and the city is going to regulate the hours in which small businesses can operate. At least, entirely theoretical example. You can't open your business before 9 a.m. and you have to close it by 11 p.m. Some set of stakeholders come and lobby that for florist shops, it's really important to be open at 7 a.m. versus 9 a.m. And it turns out that one or more council members owns a florist shop. In that case, that interest might be close enough to their own situation to argue for recusal. And in case I would argue in this case that would be an example. The Elections Commission would be the ultimate arbiter of those kinds of situations, but it's an example. Another one might be, and again, this is a property example. Council members, two different council members own residential properties. One of them is in a historic neighborhood, and there's legislation that would, in some ways, benefit or penalize, from a financial perspective, owning property in a historic district. Again, that is a relatively narrow situation. The council member might be very specifically affected. I mean, obviously, so rather than all homeowners, it would be those specific to property in an historic district. And again, and that would, in this situation, in my example, I would think that would require recusal. I do want to emphasize that, again, these all will be very fact specific and ultimately could depend on the interpretation of the Ethics and Elections Commission. And as you'll see, there's another amendment from Councilmember Hollingsworth that provides potentially a path to council members being able to sort out the situations and when this language would require recusal and when it would not. And that's my summary. Happy to answer questions, but Councilmember Hollingsworth might be well posed for that as well.
Hey, are there any to say
Oh,
about this? Go ahead, Councilmember.
Sorry, I'll raise my hand.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Ben. So let me first set the table. I'm bringing forth a universe of amendments today from watching my experience of the ethics process and trying to figure out how to improve those, regardless how we feel today about the ethics. And I think there's always room for improvement. So here is my big stab at it and trying to, bring forth some amendments that I think can potentially make it better. I know we've heard from the public on how important public trust and transparency is. So whether we agree on the underlying bill or not, we can all agree on how we can improve some of the current processes. So currently, Seattle Ethics Commission uses the exception that your interest can be shared with a substantial segment of the general population in Seattle. But many legislation types don't actually meet this standard, which leaves a lot of ambiguous and subjective subject for our Ethics Commission. So my intent with this amendment is to give ethics a clear, consistent, and transparent standard to measure our conflicts of interest against. The newest version also adds a recital from Councilmember Moore's initial amendment and a whereas clause for SEEK to determine the conflicts of interest. I also want to state that we also should still keep all the disclosure requirements in addition to the standards for this recusal as well. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions as well.
Okay, are there any questions? I am not seeing any. Councilmember Moore. You're muted.
Thank you. I'm sorry, it's not actually a question. I wanted to provide some additional information, if I may, which is to say thank you very much, Councilmember Hollingsworth, for bringing this. I very much consider it to be very friendly. And I also just wanted to point out there are, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, a variety of approaches. This language is actually utilized in a variety of other jurisdictions, such as Minnesota, Connecticut, Montana, Oregon, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Utah, Rhode Island, Vermont, Iowa, Georgia, Florida, and Alabama. Additionally, Nebraska, Massachusetts, and Arkansas use standards, similarly standards. So there are quite a lot of other jurisdictions that attempt to, as Ben so clearly said, try to straddle the middle between none or all. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will note that Washington State says, the state legislation ethics code says a legislator does not have an interest which is in conflict with the proper discharge of legislative duty if no benefit or detriment accrues to the legislator as a member of a business, profession, occupation, or group to a greater extent than to any other member of such business, profession, occupation, or group. So that seems to be the spirit of that. Councilmember Strauss, I do see your hand up, but unless there are other comments or questions from committee members, I am going to go ahead and call for a vote because we've still got several amendments to get through.
Council President.
Yes, that is, I am going to proceed with a vote, and unless you have a very short question about the specific amendment.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Hollingsworth, for your set of amendments. And Councilmember Moore, also thank you for your work on this bill, even though we may not agree. I do appreciate you calling the question. Executive Director Barnett, has the Ethics and Elections Commission had time to review these amendments?
Not to my knowledge, no.
How is it that we are?
The instructions at the beginning of the, I've said the instructions twice, and I'm not going to repeat them. There is not to be engaged a back and forth. You raise your hand to ask another question. You will have one very short question, and then we are proceeding.
Thank you. Director Barnett, how would we be able to receive feedback from the Ethics and Elections Commission? I do agree that we need a third party, whether it's a Blue Ribbon Commission or the Ethics and Elections Commission, to provide us feedback.
I believe we'd have to put the question of them at their next meeting, which is scheduled for June.
Thank you.
So, yes.
Councilmember Moore.
Just to be very brief and then not to steal thunder here, but this is the exact language that I brought when I did my first draft of this bill many months ago, and that I brought to the Ethics and Elections Commission for their feedback. And it was the feedback on this bill that led me to ultimately conclude from Director Barnett that trying to parse all these various categories was going to be difficult. Not impossible, but difficult. So I think that we can say that the Ethics and Elections Commission has had an opportunity to look specifically at this language and weigh in. Again, the questions are, how do you draw the group? How do you parse the interests? And I do believe, Director Barnett, you said that you'd had a chance to briefly look at these amendments. So
Yes, I have, but the commission hasn't. That's all.
oh, I beg your pardon. I misunderstood the question. Thank you. So just a little bit of additional context there. Thank you.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of Amendment 2, Version C?
Councilmember Rivera,
Aye.
Councilmember Solomon,
Aye.
Councilmember Hollingsworth,
Yes.
Councilmember Kettle,
Aye.
Chair Nelson.
Aye.
5 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you very much. The motion carries and Amendment 2, Version C is adopted. Councilmember Hollingsworth, it is my understanding that, are you proceeding with
Yes.
Amendment 3?
So let me, colleagues, I apologize for Amendment 3. I'm going to pull it, and I'll say why. I wanted to make clear that my intentions on this amendment was to ask our Ethics Commission to publish only the complaints that were deemed necessary to investigate, including the justification for the investigation and outcomes. My office has been in conversation with legal counsel, and so I'm going to withdraw this amendment and bring more a straightforward amendment. This will increase the transparency process where it will be publicly posted on in terms of when there is an investigation and there's deemed outcomes that are where there's a conflict, that will be posted to a website and shows the reasoning behind the conflict of interest. Right now, that does not happen, and I think that needs to be a little bit more transparent, but I have to work on the language a little bit more, so I'm going to withdraw this amendment for today. I apologize about that, but I will work on it with legal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Councilmember Hollingsworth, you're recognized to, in order to move Amendment 5.
I move to amend number 5, Council Bill 120978 as presented on Amendment 5.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to amend the bill as presented on Amendment 5. Council Central Staff, will you please walk us through that amendment?
Yes, of course. So again, this amendment is designed to encourage, I describe it as encourage engagement between elected officials and the Ethics Commission and the director. And in particular, it sets an expectation on the commission and its director to provide advisory opinions on potential ethical issues in a timely manner. So, and that's the underlying goal here. So again, just to actually read the language, the elected officials are encouraged to seek informal opinions regarding the application of this, and I'm going to paraphrase here to a degree, application of the relevant legal and ethical standards. And this is, I think, really in some ways, the next sentence is the most important and operative here. When an elected official seeks an informal written opinion of the executive director of the Ethics Commission, such an opinion shall be provided within 5 business days of the request. So it's creating a very specific expectation on the ethics director to respond and to provide information and feedback to the elected officials seeking that input. And that is its purpose. So, and then if the commission more broadly wants to engage, there's opportunity for that as well. And there's reference also to the city attorney office being able to provide assistance to elected officials. Again, no specific time requirements there, but as that's a separately elected official. But again, that's the intent and the specifics that are called out in the amendment.
Okay, Councilmember Hollingsworth.
Thank you, Council President. So, colleagues, it's my understanding that what I'm trying to do with this is to make sure that we can get timely responses from Ethics Commission within 5 business days to continue our business. Just as, like, sometimes I know that they meet quarterly, if I'm not mistaken, and so just trying to get a quicker response from our ethics commission, which I think so we can continue to have public trust and providing elected officials the support of our ethics commission and city attorney's office to encourage ethical standards for legislative matters, because what we do oftentimes moves very quickly, and getting a timely response is paramount to the work that we do.
Is Councilmember Rivera?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to clarify. So it's not requiring the commission to do within 5 days. Wayne, does the commission meet monthly?
Yes, the first Wednesday of every month.
But then if you're outside of that window, it makes it hard because then you have to wait till the following month. So
Right.
does this
Although
require, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Isn't it on me? I think it's on the executive director of the commission who has to give advice in 5 days. Isn't that my understanding, Councilmember Hollingsworth?
That's the clarity I'm seeking, because my experience with you is you get me timely information, but to be able to get something back from the commission itself, who meets monthly, if you miss that window, you have to wait till the following month. And I wanted to clarify. So
I think I can.
Go ahead, Council Member Hollingsworth. Sorry, go ahead.
And I didn't mean to say quarterly. I meant monthly. My bad. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, no, it's okay. I really just wanted to, is it possible to get more timely information from the commission? Or Ben, are you trying to weigh in here? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I can. I moved over that a little bit quickly. I can provide some very specific feedback there. So per this language, the elected official, having heard from Wayne, can also request an opportunity to seek guidance from the commission itself. And there's a reference to potentially using a special meeting to do that, and that the SEC then would have 5 days after that special meeting. There is not language about the process to call a special meeting, and candidly, I don't know how quickly that can happen on a regular basis. The director might, but the idea was that there could be situations where you would want the commission's input. It puts a 5-day window on their response, but as you have noted, organizing a special meeting or the regular meeting would be part of that timeline and is more difficult to predict.
That's very true, Ben. Let me just say, I am always striving to be very responsive. I think I've talked to many of you on several occasions, and I think I've always at least tried to be very responsive. And if you do want to get the opinion from the full commission, I'm always trying to get them together for a special meeting, which we are generally able to do, but I'm going to guarantee you that the commission's going to be available for a special meeting within a week, but most times they are. So.
Thank you, Council President. Thanks for the clarity, all.
I know I'm not running the meeting, but I also want to recognize, I think Councilmember Strauss has his hand up. I don't know if he has a question or not, but it's not my role to recognize him, but I just wanted to point it out.
I see that. Do you have a short question on this amendment, Councilmember Strauss?
Yes, thank you. I will say that it is important for us to receive feedback from our commission about these amendments. We lose nothing by taking time to get their feedback, but if we rush to pass a law lowering our own ethics standards without input from our ethics oversight body, we do risk permanently undermining people's trust in us and our process. I think we need to take more time with these amendments and the underlying legislation so that we're able to receive their feedback. And the question here, Council President, I know that you noted you shared that there'd be no back and forth, that we needed to raise our hands after each question. I haven't seen that happening with other council members. I just want to see if that's a rule that applies to everyone.
My question's exactly. Councilmember Rivera, go ahead.
Thank you. I want to, for the record, state that Councilmember Strauss has said on a number of occasions now that we're lowering the standard, and I want the record to reflect it. We are not lowering the standards. There are still standards here for ethics. We're making some clarifying amendments, and I feel really strongly that that needed to be stated, because I don't want to be left on the table that we apparently are going to agree to disagree on that, Councilmember Strauss, but we are not lowering the standard. Thank you, Council President.
Okay. Are there any other questions from committee members on this? We are now after 5 o'clock and a council member has a very hard stop. I am trying to get it to a vote on this piece of legislation. Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of Amendment 5?
Councilmember Rivera,
Aye.
Councilmember Solomon,
Aye.
Councilmember Hollingsworth,
Yes.
Councilmember Kettle,
Aye.
Chair Nelson.
Aye.
5 in favor, none opposed.
Thank you very much. Okay, the motion carries and Amendment 5 is adopted. Councilmember Hollingsworth, you're recognized in order to move Amendment 6.
I move to amend Council Bill 120978 as presented on Amendment 6.
Is second. It has been moved and seconded to amend the bill as presented on Amendment 6. Council Central Staff, will you please walk us through the amendment?
Absolutely. Yeah, so as described in the effect statement, this amendment is designed to encourage and invite the Ethics and Election Commission to continue to provide input in this space, if you will. So in particular, it calls on the SEC to report annually to the City Council on whether it has any recommendations for new ethics policy considerations. And it, to quote, it authorizes and encourages the Elections Commission to review instances of recusal by elected officials, ethics complaints, requests for advisory opinions, and the like. So to use the body of knowledge that they potentially will have gathered over the course of the previous year, based on, and maybe even years before that, and to affirmatively make recommendations to council about potential modifications to the ethics legislation, the ethics rules and laws. And again, it encourages that and affirmatively requires the commission to respond to council on an annual basis. That response in a given year could be, we don't have any recommendations, but either way, the idea is that there would be an affirmative check-in, whether or not events in the previous years or their cumulative impact over time suggest that there's a need for some modification in the view of the Ethics Commission.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hollingsworth?
Thank you, Council President. So this is just really a request of our ethics to report annually on the state of ethics of the city and recommendation how we can further build trust. As there's a lot of changing of people. There's a lot of different scenarios that come up. There's a lot of different things that are moving fast. And so it would just to be able to say, hey, here are some recommendations that we would like to help strengthen our laws.
So is this, I have a question. Is this is there any kind of regularity with which we would ask for or request that input?
This would be annually. So we'd have an annual report on, hey, this is the state of ethics. This is what we see conflicts of interest, just to keep us abreast of, some stuff that might arise and how we can continue to strengthen our laws.
Got it. I would, I think that would be a great report to have at some point when council is in session so that we could consider and make those changes instead of it having to happen right before a long break or something like that. But anyway, go ahead. Are there any questions or comments from other people? Councilmember Rivera.
Yes, as this is Councilmember Hollingsworth's last amendment, I just really want to thank you, Councilmember Hollingsworth, for improving upon, what Councilmember Moore brought. And Councilmember Moore acknowledging you had many of these, and then based on some opinion you got, went back and forth. But also say I appreciate you, Councilmember Moore, and you, Councilmember Hollingsworth, for the time and the due diligence and all you've done to really support and take Director Barnett's recommendation to update the ethics code with the thoughtfulness that you've put into it. So really just wanted to thank you for that as we're looking at this last amendment. And again, to underscore that, I know we did get a recommendation from someone I know to be, the holder of the ethics work at the city, and someone I really have trusted over the years. And that is really important to me in all of this. If Director Barnett had said differently, then I would have gone that different direction. And so I really want to underscore that this is not our lowering our standards. This is making some amendments as recommended by our ethics officer. And then, of course, even putting more amendments to it to make it as robust of an ethics bill as it can be. So thank you all.
Thank you. Councilmember Kettle.
Oh, I didn't have a hand raised, so.
Oh, I thought that you had raised your hand. Did you say anything about a walk-on, I thought?
Yes, I said that earlier. And as I mentioned to you previously, earlier before the meeting, it was a possibility, but I will not bring Amendment 7, walk-on amendment today.
Okay, Councilmember Moore, I invite you to make some closing comments.
We have point of
Yeah,
information.
please go ahead.
We have not voted on Amendment 6, Council President.
Gosh, getting ahead of myself. Clerk, would you please call the roll on Amendment 6?
Councilmember Rivera?
Aye.
Councilmember Kettle?
Aye.
Councilmember Solomon?
Aye.
Councilmember Hollingsworth?
Yes.
Chair Nelson?
Aye.
5 in favor, none opposed.
Okay, the motion carries. And the two hands just went up. Just a second. Let me say this because I have to. The motion carries and Amendment 6 is adopted. Let's see, are there any final comments on the bill as amended before we vote on the bill? Council member, I am going to call on Council member. Are there any, what time do we have a hard stop for this committee meeting?
Councilmember Nelson, if I may.
Go ahead.
Sorry, technical problems. I have to be at an event honoring President Kauset. I know this is now at the end of our vote, so if there's any way that we can vote for the full thing. I know there's couple council members have questions, but I know they're non-voting members, so maybe is it possible? I don't know if this is even possible to just take the vote and then you can get their questions.
I am fine with taking a vote and then leaving and not calling adjournment until council members can make comments on the end. Council member Kathy Moore, would you like to make closing comments before we come to a vote?
Council member Hollingsworth has her hand up.
Council member Hollingsworth, go ahead.
Thank you, Council President. So really quick, I wanted to just state something for the record. My intention and goal, number one, was to provide more structure to our ethics of what I have seen in my own personal experience behind the scenes to see what happens with certain, with certain things. And so just wanted to state that for the record. So structure and more transparency as well. And so and that's why I had brought amendment number 3 to the table, but I know it needs to be worded better because from my experience, if there is an ethical dilemma and someone wants to know about that, they have to file a public disclosure request, and that takes a long time and what forth. And I think just putting that out there and being transparent about what findings were, and if that those findings were to be a conflict, that is the most transparent process you could possibly be from a government's perspective on someone's government website. So I just wanted to state that for the record, I don't consider that lowering standards. I consider that being honest and open, instead of a tweet or a social media post or a gossip. So I just wanted to state that I consider that to be way more transparent than what is currently being done right now, and also to provide facts and data and information to people. So with responses within 5 days, and also getting an annual report about how we can improve our ethics, I think is incredibly important as well. Having a structured report where we can analyze and understand and data and facts so we can get better as a council, I think is incredibly important. So I wanted to state that. I also tried my best to bring forth some amendments that I thought was a middle ground, because I have seen extremes on both sides. And in order for us to move forward, we have to have a common middle ground balance approach so we can move forward in whatever type of stuff we do. And that's how I took to this ethics piece. That's how I take to any type of legislation that we're doing. I'm always trying to find the common ground so we can move forward to making sure that we can continue to have progress, because that is the underlining piece to our city of being progressive, is progress. Okay, so I just wanted to state that, because I know that we can, everyone has their own opinion. I get it. Just trying to make progress here for a middle ground. The other thing I would like to say is that the Amendment 3, because I didn't have that in enough time, I'm going to have to abstain from the vote today until we get it correctly, because I don't feel comfortable enough to vote on the underlining bill until we have this amendment where I think needs to be well. So I just wanted to state that for the record, my intentions, and thank you all for your time. But I think yeah, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Can you just remind me what was the topic of 3? I am not remembering.
It's to publish only the complaints that were deemed necessary to investigate where there was an ethical outcome, or where there was an outcome where there was a conflict of interest, and why that is. And so that is to be published. Those are my intentions, to get it right with law, and to make sure that it can be as transparent as possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That is a very important piece of, that is important. Okay, Councilmember Moore, do you want to close us out with any comments?
Council President?
Yes. Oh, I don't, you're behind some writing on my screen. Go ahead. Is your hand up? Go ahead, Councilmember Kettle.
I just wanted to stay here because this was the point that I was going to raise my hand to say that, as I alluded to, and I basically mentioned during my remarks, there is an Amendment 7 walk-on. Upon consideration, I will not be placing that amendment in today. But can I just say too, again, as I stated earlier, there's a lot of different pieces here, and so I appreciate the work done by all involved to regarding the challenges that we face, to include the add-on of Councilmember Hollingsworth with all her amendments, in addition to work done previously by Councilmember Moore and others. So I just wanted to end that way. Thank you.
It is my impression, thank you very much. I'll just say one thing, that it is my impression that we have strengthened the existing ethics code. There is the modification of recusal or disclosure, but there is a lot to the ethics code that has been strengthened by this suite of amendments. And I do look forward to seeing the full suite of amendments before. Are there any other comments? Councilmember Moore.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I just wanted to say thank you so much to Councilmember Hollingsworth for all of your really hard work on your amendments, for bringing the recusal amendment. I think it demonstrates that our democracy is alive and well when we hear a lot of feedback, and we are responsive and receptive. And we have gone back to, I think, a recusal provision that is, it's not a bright line, which is important, It has been shown to work in many other jurisdictions, and it gives the Ethics and Elections Director and the Commission some guidelines on which to be able to make these very difficult decisions. I actually believe that we are not taking the guardrails off, we are making them better so that we as a council can work more effectively and do the business of representing all the voices. So thank you very much for the opportunity to bring this before your committee today.
Thank you. Okay, Councilmember Strauss. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Council President.
I'm sorry, I'm going to
over the past few days, we've seen Republicans on the Supreme Court take
Just a
principled.
second.
Pause. I'm sorry.
You just called on me.
I apologize. I meant to give Kathy, Councilmember Moore, the last word, and just looked at the clock and realized that I really we do have to bring this.
Thank
so
you,
I'm
Council
going
President.
to proceed with
I'll just make my comments brief. I appreciate you calling on me here. I just want to say that over the past few days, we've seen even Republicans on the Supreme Court take principled recusals. Justice Amy Coney Barrett recused herself while she was the deciding vote on a case that would have approved the country's first public religious charter school. It's something that she's on the record supporting, but recused herself anyways. All of this to say, I don't think that we should be the ones leading with legislation that, in my opinion, lowers our ethical standards. And I
Thank you very much. I am going to
Councilmember
interrupt you
Hollingsworth
now
amendments
and get
make
to
this
the
a better
vote.
bill. We need to be taking more time on this bill, as I'm hearing that there may be additional amendment ideas and that the commission has not provided their feedback. There's no need to rush this, unless there is. I have only spoke to the merits of this, the 2016 and the 2018 bills. If we see in the next few weeks legislation that will only pass because of the bill before us, then we'll know why this process is rushed. We have time.
Councilmember Strauss, you are not on this committee. I erroneously said your name because you were at the top left of my screen. I was proceeding to a vote on this bill because we had a hard stop and we're already past it. You will have the opportunity to speak to this when it is before full council. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we do have to move on. Will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of Council Bill 120978 as amended?
Councilmember Rivera,
Aye.
Councilmember Solomon,
Aye.
Councilmember Hollingsworth,
Abstain.
Councilmember Kettle,
Abstain.
Chair Nelson.
I will also abstain.
2 in favor, 3 abstained.
Okay, the bill, the motion carries, and committee recommendation that the bill pass as amended will be sent to the June 3rd City Council meeting. This will come before, the council on, help me out here, June, our next, can the clerk help me with the?
My apologies, June 3rd City Council meeting.
June 3rd City Council meeting. Okay, I abstain because it does seem as though there will be additional amendments, and I want to see the full suite, because that could change my vote, and I don't want to have to explain myself after the fact. If there is no further business, this meeting will adjourn.
Council President, we still have hands. Point of order.
Yes, and this is, I am the chair of this committee, and I do apologize to the non-committee members. If there is I will move my script to see if there are committee members that wish to speak. There are no committee members that wish to speak, and we are well past time. I was generous with public comment, and so we do have to end this meeting so that people can get to other engagements. It is now 5:27. Hearing no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
Council President.
Yes.
I do think it's important that we hear from Councilmember Rank. I would just want to say for the record, I don't want to overstep my
You are in fact overstepping, and I will let council members that need to leave the meeting. You are free to go to get to your engagements, and you are free to speak before we officially end the meeting. Go ahead, Councilmember Rink.
Right. When this legislation became public earlier this month, I was the first member of this body to speak out against it. And I'll do so again today for the official public record. I am against this legislation because I don't believe we should lower our ethical standards. And you can say it's not lowering standards, but it is by definition lowering standards. And our democracy is fragile, especially as we watch profit over people in the form of public policy happening in real time in DC this week as House Republicans give out tax breaks to wealthy corporations while slashing SNAP and Medicaid for the poorest Americans as a part of the Trump regime's big, beautiful tax bill. This is not the moment we should be weakening our city's code of ethics. In fact, given the fragile national environment, I'd go as far to say that this is the worst possible timing for this. And over the past 2 weeks alone, my office has received over 1,300 emails from constituents against this, most of which are unique emails, not form letters. Only one email was found, that we could find, that actually supports this. To put this into context, in the 6 months I've held this office, we've received 3,200 emails, almost all form letters on the comprehensive plan. So the fact that we've received about a third of that in just a few weeks should tell us something. The hours of public comment we've received on this should tell us something. The people don't want this. Earlier today, as Councilmember Strauss mentioned, conservative U.S. Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett recused herself of a vote on a case related to public funding for what could have been the nation's first religious charter school. Why should Seattle City Council have lower ethical standards than the U.S. Supreme Court? To my colleagues advocating for this legislation who are voting yes to move this out of the what feels ironically named governance and accountability meeting today, I have 3 simple questions for every person who usually sits behind this dais. Why now? What comes next from this body? And how much of that will build off the backs of poor and working people? I understand the committee has already voted today, but when this comes before full council, I ask to please vote for the best interest of our community by voting no to end this legislation from moving forward. This is not good governance, and it's a betrayal of public trust.
Thank you very much for those comments. This meeting is now adjourned. It is 5:30. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.